2. Turner Gill throwing touchdown, Rozier.
This is 365 Sports.
The Sooners are spread out as White's back to throw. Gonna go deep, got a man open, touchdown Oklahoma, Travis Wilson.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Gundy, hand off again. Sanders, running room, look out, could go. One man to beat, he does. Touchdown, Oklahoma State.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Winky going toward the end zone. Caught! Touchdown, Marvin Mims.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
And he throws for Glenn, and he's picked off. Charles Woodson.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on a Thursday. Couple of things going on a little bit later on with Craig and Off the Radar. The opening day of Major League Baseball season. Some weather has delayed some games. He'll have more on that at 4:45 or so with Off the Radar. And, of course, it's the Sweet 16 with games tonight and then eventually 4 more tomorrow. And then, of course, the winners move into the regional final games in the Final Four. We'll eventually get to San Antonio, Texas. I'm David Smoak with Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. There you are. On the left behind me is the Sweet 16 with BYU, the first game out of the gate. We'll hear from Dave McCann, who covers them, in just a little bit, plus some statistical numbers. Maryland, Florida, Arizona, Duke, the second of the 3 Big 12 teams playing today, and then Arkansas, Texas Tech tonight, and then Houston, the 4th team in the Big 12, will be playing tomorrow. But there we are with the games tonight. These are some really, really salty matchups.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see about 1 million points in the first one. I think you're probably going to see slightly less than that in the second one. Both teams are better on defense but can still score. I'm very curious to see how Arizona tries to defend Duke. No one has figured out what to do about Cooper Flagg yet. And because of that, they're still just good across the board. And I think Tech has a shot here to really have a nice win over Arkansas. Great first weekend for the Hogs, but Tech is deeper and better to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that pop out to me about this. It's not like X's and O's related, but just on the surface is, damn, the SEC's got a lot of teams in this tournament. I mean, still standing. You look at it, the 4 games tonight, Alabama's in the first one, Florida's in the second one. There's nobody in the third game. And then you've got Arkansas in the fourth of the 4 games. So 3 of the 4 games tonight have SEC teams in them. Tomorrow, Ole Miss is in the first game. Kentucky and Tennessee play each other. Mm-hmm. Auburn's in the third game. And then there's Purdue-Houston. So of the 8 games, there's only 2 that don't feature an SEC team, which we kind of knew going in that they had a lot. But when you look at it that way, it's like they could have nearly the entire, side of a bracket all to themselves. But what jumps out to me kind of in line with that is this is a really big night for Brett Yormark and his league. They could walk out of tonight with 3 Elite 8 teams.
Yep.
They could walk out of tonight with 0 Elite 8 teams and 1 playing tomorrow to try to give them somebody in the Elite 8. Now, odds are it's probably somewhere in the middle. It's not extreme one way or the other. But, yeah, there's an opportunity for the Big 12 and for the SEC in particular tonight to really make a lot of noise with the matchups that they have. And maybe, again, it falls somewhere in the middle, but that opportunity is there to go feast or famine in a major way. So that's what jumps out to me is imagine the feeling tomorrow if BYU, Arizona, and Tech were all somehow able to win. And then you get them all, and then you still have Houston still remaining to play. That would be the ideal scenario, obviously, for Brett Yormark. And Greg Sankey's got to be licking his chops. I don't want to make everything about conference stuff, as you guys know.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the storyline here tonight going into it is that you've got It's all power groups, as we know, and there's two in particular that stand out to really make a lot of noise one way or the other.
Well, when you have three conferences, half of their teams that got in are still alive. The Big Ten, the Big 12, and then the SEC, of course, was 7 of the 14. You still got to win because those first 2 days there were some teams getting knocked out. But the ones who were at the top of the SEC are still there. Arkansas, of course, has slid through and been able to win that big game against St. John's. The Big 12, these 4 teams, 3 of them tonight, every one of them. I know Arizona Duke would be a little bit interesting, and Duke can be very much a fire explosive. But to me, all of them have an opportunity to win. It's not like, oh, my God, there's no way they're going to win that game. Now, Duke, we saw what they did. They obliterated Baylor on Sunday.
Arizona and BYU would be upsets, no doubt about it. Tech should be or is favored, so they should be your best bet on moving on tonight at least. Houston and tomorrow obviously would be a pretty strong bet for a lot of people. But, the whole ACC, what's going on, basketball woes and all that, I mean, Duke could still go win the whole damn tournament. It's very possible they go win the whole tournament. So that would make up for the lack of having, 5 Elite 8 teams or 5 of the Sweet 16 or whatever. But, it's basically all their hopes are pinned on the Dukies to get it done, but that's certainly possible. Arizona, though, could knock them out entirely. And then you really wonder what Twitter's talking about or, whatever other service is talking about tomorrow in terms of the ACC.
So Richie Saunders is a great story at BYU. We'll have a note about his NIL in just a moment. But there were some press conferences, media sessions, et cetera, for those who are playing tonight. And there's some going on today for those playing tomorrow. And Richie Saunders saying that BYU locked in tonight in their game against Alabama.
Watching these games and just really praying and hoping that BYU would get in and make a run or whatever. But to be on here, it means a lot, and to do it with this team collectively, it's so fun. I just feel like as a team we just care about each other so much, which I couldn't ask for anything more. But I'm just super grateful to be here and to be here with BYU. It's a dream come true.
Many, of course, of BYU players can light it up. He's one of them. And then because of his success and because of a story that was done by CBS last weekend, maybe even College Game Day, Saunders now has an NIL deal with his lineage, the great-grandson of the inventor of tater tots. So Orida signed him to an NIL deal. See, that was always the one that I liked. Like, for example, what was it, Little Bugs at Baylor and somebody else that are part of, names of critters. And they got
Little Page Bugs and Jeremy Roach.
Yeah,
and they got a bug spray.
And they got a bug spray. And then
Great.
now him with the lineage of Orida, or at least tater tots, and Orida signs him up to an NIL deal.
Orida owns the copyright for tater tots. They own.
I know.
Yeah, so that's where that comes into play. Is why they make the most sense because they actually own the copyright for that term tater tots.
I will do that occasionally if I do have anything that's a French fry type. I will do a tater tot. I actually like them sometimes more. I just don't eat a lot of them.
It depends on the meal. You gotta pair it up well. I do like a good tot. I'm not going to lie. The hipsters have started making bespoke tater tots that have fancy things in them. So that's been fun.
Make it like it's, again, it's just
and listen, don't look. The hipsters contribute very little to society, and fancying up mundane food dishes is what they can do.
A tater tot's not mundane.
Well, I guess so, but it's very basic. It's 2 ingredients. It's potatoes and salt, maybe flour, I guess, and so 3. But no. And I if I am the Orida people, if I'm, doing a commercial for Ricky Saunders, the thing would be listen, my grandmother invented these things.
Yep.
So the Saunders family knows what a tot's supposed to taste like, and Orida is the best because of that. Yeah.
I used to like him. I didn't get to eat at the cafeteria in high school or any other parts of school very often. We always had the lunch pail with 5 kids, but I used to like the days when they had the tater tots at the cafeteria.
Yeah, who would have thought that his great-grandfather, being a part of a company at the beginning, being a part of, obviously a big piece of American food, pop culture, whatever you want to refer to it as, American snack food that 7 decades later, that his great grandson would be, promoting the brand as best as anyone possibly could and doing it on such a big stage. So, yeah, just a small world, I guess, and a very cool story, and cool that there's this family link into going back to the 1950s and that it all comes full circle to where he's able to promote them through NIL. So, yeah, I mean, that and just – I didn't know that tater tots was like a copyrighted term. I thought that was just like
hamburger.
Everybody has burgers, know, but it's like apparently like Oride is tater tots is what I read a couple of days ago. But, yeah, I mean, the whole connection and coming full circle over the course of all these decades is just really unique, and the type of NIL story that I think we all assumed they were geared towards from the very beginning, and that we see some of, but we just don't see as much of that as we just see like, hey, so-and-so's driving a Lambo. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, cool. And like that's all there is to it. It's like this is NIL the way it was intended to be.
All right, one other note on the BYU-Alabama game, which could be explosive. Sometimes you have two explosive offensive teams and it doesn't meet that, or two good defensive teams and it turns out to be a shootout. Greg Wrubell, who's the voice of BYU and Alabama both shoot 48.3 and 48.6% from the field. They both allow 42% from the field. BYU 71% free throw shooter, Alabama 71.6. They have both averaged 81 points per game. BYU has 17 points assists per game, 12 turning it over 12 times. Alabama 17 assists per game, turning it over almost 13 times. The leading scorers have 78 and 79 threes. BYU's leading their point guard, Demon, has 173 assists. And Sears from Alabama, the All-American, has 176 assists. So right down the pipe, almost identical stats individually and also team-wise. A couple other games. We put up the Sweet 16 tonight. Late game. Texas Tech and their game with Arkansas and John Calipari. We had Grant McCasland on yesterday in a great segment with him. Here he is on two players who have been battling injuries in both Williams and McMillan. Both of them are from California. They're playing, of course, in San Francisco. And Grant McCasland talking about how unselfish these two players have been.
I can tell you the heart behind both of those guys. In a world where everybody's asking what you can give them, both of those guys wanted to know how we could win. And both of them, Darian Williams and Chance McMillan, Darian being the first, both of those guys, investment in winning from the beginning and not asking what they're going to get out of it, I think says everything about not only who they are as young men, but who they are as teammates and as basketball players. And if you watch the way they play the same way that they live their life. It's like unselfish. How do you make other people around you better, and how you care about more about the success of others than you do about the success of yourself. And that's honestly why we chose them from the beginning.
That's Grant McCasland. Texas Tech tonight tips it off the last game tonight against Arkansas. A couple of other notes in coaching. We had this yesterday with Ross Hodge headed to West Virginia. There is the official announcement. Welcome. There are still West Virginia fans, even some media and others, who are wondering if they got the right guy. Well, I think Grant McCasland summed it up pretty well with what he said about both Ben McCollum and Ross Hodge. But, of course, there's going to be a transition period. But he now officially, Ren Baker even took our audio with Grant McCasland on Ross Hodge and tweeted it out late yesterday evening. Bill Armstrong was at Baylor. We mentioned that he's on his way to McNeese State. I love this. This is not Mac Rhodes. This is a parody account. Baylor, not Mac Rhodes. Scott Drew's coaching tree is going to be half of the tournament field at this rate, when he was mentioning McCasland and others as well. That's a pretty big, thick, a bunch of books could be written and a few documentaries from people hanging out in that tree over the years.
Yeah, look, he's got a lot of them, out there. Really, it was him and Grant this year that made it in, but John Jagus will be in the tournament in my estimation soon enough. He's a fantastic coach. Driscoll's been in. Paul Mills is at Wichita State. They'll be back there.
Tang.
Jerome Tang will be back.
Got some work cut out for him, but he'll be back.
They'll be back. So
Also, Farouk Manesh
Ali Faroukmanesh.
Yes, has been promoted by Colorado State. He is now the head coach at Colorado State because there's been a lot of movement, the carousel of coaches. Congratulations. That did not take them long whatsoever.
Yeah, no, it didn't. And he was kind of the guy who started running their offense, even though Nico Medved is that offensive genius. Ali Faroukmanesh was the coach there. Of course, famous Kansas killer for Northern Iowa back in the day. So he gets his shot. I would not be surprised to see him rise through the ranks really quickly.
Didn't Northern Iowa also 1 year beat Texas in the tournament? Like a half-court shot. They've got a little history. Yeah. Not huge, but a little history in the tournament. Now, because of Ross Hodge going to West Virginia, North Texas is targeting Ron Hunter, who's at Tulane. Why would we know him, Paul?
Well, I sat and watched his team make the most ridiculous comeback I've ever seen when he was at Georgia State, and his son was the best player on the team, and Baylor choked away a game. He's got some tourney background, some big Cinderella history to him. So,
and then, by the way, Scott Cross, who we had on the show, remember him at Troy? He would then be one of the guys leading candidates to go to Tulane to replace Hunter if that happens. Garrett has a graphic of the teams who have played other teams who are still left in the tournament. These are the Sweet 16 teams. These are the teams in who they've beaten who are a part of the Sweet 16. And there's Auburn at the very top with 7. Florida has 5. And there's a handful of others, including Ole Miss, Purdue, Tennessee, all have had 4 wins against teams that are still playing. So there's a graphic of those still left. That's pretty solid. Everybody's got somebody, at least one. But Auburn, 7 who are still left. Of course, a lot of those because there are 7 teams left in the SEC, although they haven't beaten all of them.
Yeah, Auburn is one of Houston's few losses. So is Alabama, as a matter of fact. So that'll be interesting if they, and it's going to be a minute before that would even happen. But even still, there's a lot of crossover here, and mostly because all these teams are from the power conferences, so they've all played each other more or less. Or in Duke's respect, they play a good non-con schedule, so they've played Auburn and they've played Arizona and some other teams.
Now, that's the ones left, and that's who've beaten those who are left among the teams that are still playing. Remember we had the note about the starting 5 where they originally came from this year in the Sweet 16? So here's another graphic. This is the Sweet 16, and these are the top 8 players in minutes per game. And it's still kind of scattered. You see a lot of Houston has everybody who has been at Houston from the beginning. And then, of course, there's L.J. Cryer and what he's done after he was at Baylor for a year. And so there's always somebody. But remember Purdue? Purdue still, their top 8 players all started at Purdue. Duke, their top 8 players, we gave you the top 5. One of them was not. But 5 of the top 8 were at Duke from the beginning. So it's like a Scrabble, right? Like a jigsaw puzzle. Look at what it was like in 2019 prior to when so much changed with NIL and the transfer portal. 2019, not quite, but almost from left to right on every roster, you have almost everybody started with the team that eventually made it to the Sweet 16. How times have changed.
Oh, look, FSU was in the Sweet 16.
They were.
2019. Yeah. Lost to Michigan in the worst Coast game I've ever seen.
By Leonard Hamilton?
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about him anymore.
No, it's just one of those things where, he's got Michigan up there carving him up, and he's just like, hey, here's what we're going to do. You're going to shoot. And then if they miss it, you get it. Go. That was
starting to act like Torian Prince.
No, yeah, a little bit. It's amazing how fast things change. But even then, even back in 2019, the transfer portal was still a thing. It's just that you had to wait to play there.
Or you had to be a grad transfer.
You had to be a grad. Well, so you're still some waiting. You have to wait to graduate. You have to wait once you get there. But it wasn't a way that teams won. And then when they opened the doors, it became the only way that you could build your roster because, everybody's a free agent if they want to be after every season.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see that. I mean, yeah, the transfer portal changed a lot. That's pretty clear, but to see it on paper like that is, interesting, and kind of miss that, actually. I know that there's the fun of having the portal entries and the pursuits and eventually the actually getting those guys when you do land them. That's all very exciting. It makes the year go by in a more entertaining way because it seems like there's always something. Certainly it's good for shows like this one, but I do kind of have a soft spot for when you just knew who was on your team and you could grow and just live and die with those guys. And, yeah, there might be a change here and there, but now it's like, any number, any reason anybody wants to leave, they just leave. And then you end up with the rosters like we saw in the prior graphic, which is fine. It's leading to, good basketball, I guess, and some pretty solid teams, but I don't think that was ever the intent, but that's where money took it, and that's where legalities took it. So, it is what it is. There's people that probably pine for the day when Ivy Leagues were winning national championships. Those people are long gone at this point, but things change, and they change for the better. I think some people believe portal's for the better, but it does leave a bad taste in your mouth when it comes to just the ability to actually track a team and watch them grow as a team as opposed to, hey, this forward's not working out, rather than like seeing what he can do over the course of a couple years. He's out of there, and you're bringing in the guy from Duke who's already an All-American or whatever. And so there's pluses and minuses to all of it. But, yeah, it's definitely a different time period.
It is dramatically different. Blake Lawrence, who's one of the founders of Open Doors, which, of course, is an NIL company, and though really one of the first that was out there, played college football at Nebraska. He said of the top 8 players in that graphic, if you'll go back to that one, Blake, for this year, the top 8 players that are the Sweet 16 teams for this year, of the 128 players, 72, that's 19. You'll go to the 1 in 25, if you could, please. There we go. Of the 128 players, 56% now are transfers. Of those 72 transfers, 37 came from Power 4 programs, 14 came from Group of 5 programs, and how about this? 21 came from non-FBS schools to be a part of these rosters playing starting tonight. The ones who built their roster beyond the Power 4, the best, Florida, Tech have 5, Alabama, and Kentucky each have 4. So there's that graphic again with what Blake Lawrence is saying. So there's a note. Ross Dellinger had a story earlier today about how he accidentally said mid-majors and included Big East as a mid-major. In basketball, they are a power conference. There's no question about it. But he had an article about how the non-power 4 conferences in basketball, and again, did not mean to mention the Big East, but they now, because some of them don't play football, have a chance to have a larger salary cap when it comes to men's basketball than those who have men's basketball and football. Gary Parrish, who writes for CBS Sports, put this out there today. Prediction: there is no way the SEC and the Big Ten will ever let the Big East outspend them in basketball. If that becomes a reality, it won't be for long. If they have to change the rules again or just break them, they will, but they'll never operate at any kind of disadvantage.
Well, I mean, if you saw the quote of Greg Sankey, he's like, well, this is could be a potentially troubling development. It's troubling. He's like, well, yeah, Greg, now when, you
the shoes on the other foot?
The shoes on the other foot, yeah, when these teams that, aren't big in football. And the thing he's most concerned about, and the thing that was, I think, more of the focus of the article is, if you don't have a football team, but you still get this money and you have that, you can dedicate more to a basketball roster. So, like, I get that there's going to be some numbers moving around here to make sure that, the big conferences don't get left behind or whatever. But also, like, if you're Gonzaga or you're one of the Big East schools that don't have football or don't have Division I football, well, that's their choice, and they can spend their money how they want it. I mean, I don't see it as much of a crisis as they do, and so, yeah, if the Big East winds up being the SEC of basketball, okay, well, I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. But the SEC in the Big Ten and the big conferences, like most corporate titans, don't like competition. So they're going to try to figure out a way to move the needle towards them.
Yeah, like a lot of people with power, they don't like rules, and they will use their power to break those as soon as it doesn't advantage them. So look at what he's talking about right now. So that just falls in line with basically the rest of the world. So, I don't know what he actually said or not, so I'm not going to react too much to that. But, I mean, I'm not surprised he said it. He'll just fall back on, well, my job is to protect the SEC, but then we'll have to hear Tim Brando or any other number of people, you know, guys, I really think he does care, and I'll have to sit here and just listen to it and not believe it like I do pretty much every time. I'm not going to argue it because it's their opinion, and they believe that, and hell, they know Greg Sankey better than I do, but I just don't know of any actions that I've seen that really go that direction. All of them seem to indicate he's concerned about one thing and one thing only, and that's his conference, which is his job, so I don't blame him for that. I just get bothered when he's held up as like the savior of college athletics and the guy who can bring it all together when a lot of his actions are in the complete opposite direction of that. I would need to see the exact verbiage here to have too much of an opinion on this exactly. But, I mean, I read that and I go, yeah, he probably said that or something along those lines. Yeah, I absolutely believe he would call something like that a troubling situation, even though I think of far more actual, like, real troubling things to describe as troubling situations. But they're going to get theirs. I mean, that's inevitable. They've already taken control, as has the Big Ten. Their commissioner just sits back and doesn't do as many interviews, I suppose. I mean, if he's the savior, then, I mean, he's the one that's in control along with his running buddy in the Big Ten. So we'll see where we are in 5-10 years because whatever happens and whatever all this looks like, it will be based on their decision-making because they've made all the decisions to get to the point now where they have control of all the decisions for the most part.
Yep, and but I do love it. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Things are going really smooth for us. What do you mean that you might have more than us? And who knows about those meetings? Like you said, we're not in them.
And he said, look, his thing was it's a potentially troubling development. You know, we certainly want to, you know, and he frames it in the, you know, like, well, I mean, we want to be competitive and equity and blah, blah, blah,
Shut
blah,
up.
blah. And you're like, okay.
Well, that's why I got to see the quote, like, you know, it's like Greg Sankey blow torches the NCAA.
He didn't blow torch it at all. It was a very political answer.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like built it like, you know, with some padding around it to be like, look, I'm not saying I don't want them to have it. I just want to make sure that we have it too.
Right.
So
do I do attacks in all capital letters on the YouTube video? Like that's got a quote that just gets misconstrued, which is why I said I'm not going to react too much to it. But in general, like everything we've seen from the guy, I'd absolutely believe that's what he said or that's his intention because he's doing what's best for his conference.
Yeah, here's what Ross Dellinger, we got to get to Dave McCann. Some Big East programs can top at $7 million for a roster. Football will limit most in the Power Fours to $2 to $4 million.
Yeah,
football for those Power Fours will be higher, but basketball in that neighborhood of $2 to $4 million. Dave McCann, he works for Deseret News. He also does BYU TV, play-by-play, broadcaster, columnist, and more. BYU playing tonight. That's next. This is, and we appreciate your time, 365 Sports.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and you know, I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
A Attention Central Texas. The Jeep Celebration event is happening now at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive home a legendary 2024 Jeep Wrangler, Sahara, Rubicon, or Grand Cherokee, saving 20% off MSRP. Or save a whopping $13,000 on a 2024 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Prefer low financing? Get 3.9% for 72 months. But hurry, these deals won't last long. Hurry to Allen Samuels in Waco, where we always say,
come by, let's be friends.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Dave McCann on Twitter at Dave McCann TV, sports writer, sportscaster, public speaker, podcast host, play-by-play, Deseret News columnist, and also BYU TV does ESPN Plus and more. He joins us now on the day, just a few hours from now, BYU and Alabama in the Sweet 16. Dave, thank you very much for your time. What's it been like in Provo? It's been a football season was fantastic. Could have been better, but it was really good. And what's it like now with the men's basketball team on this heater?
Hey, the only thing I can add to that glorified introduction is when I was a 19-year-old kid, I was a Latter-day Saint missionary in that part of Texas.
Really?
So it's a full circle thing. So it's great to be with you. It's a great time up here, as you can imagine. Folks are dialed in with this magical run that somewhat improbable, considering they're really trying to find themselves when Baylor came here back in January, and they got the Bears in overtime, and that got them to 14-6, and now they're 26-9. So what's not for a fan to love over that stretch?
Dave, this is a team that can bomb away with the best of them, and they're going to have to do that tonight against Alabama. They are better on defense than Bama, but do you think that in a game like this could be even a factor at all, or is this about endurance more than anything?
It's so hard to say. Whoever starts hot is certainly going to have a huge advantage, and it's a challenge. BYU started, haven't always started hot. I think when they were in Ames a couple weeks ago, they hadn't scored by the first time out, but the beauty of that was that Iowa State had a 2-0 lead. So they were still in it, even though they hadn't been able to put the ball in the basket. But as of late, they came out against Wisconsin and just started hitting shots and never trailed in that game. And that's kind of how they have to do it tonight. I'm not saying they won't trail, but they've got to come out answering blow for blow in a game where both teams are good at shooting. And sometimes in these kind of games, it turns into just the opposite, right? Where they're supposed to be really good at these two things, and then it's 60 to 58 in a slugfest free throw shooting thing. But I think everybody's hoping. I know CBS is hoping that it's a track meet right from the start, and both teams are capable of lighting it up. That's for sure.
What are they, if you think they have a weakness, what would it be? Because they have some size inside, athleticism in size. Obviously, they can shoot it. What would be perhaps an Achilles?
Well, rebounding has been such a thing in our league. And in games where, Houston is a cut above, right? And it's out-rebounded everybody, or so it seemed. But in games where BYU is competitive, they were winning on the glass, and that's Iowa State, that's Arizona and Tucson, and even when Baylor was here. And I think rebounding is key. Jimmer Fredette was on our podcast the other day, and we asked him, and he said that Alabama shoots so much that rebounding on the defensive side is so important because there's long rebounds coming off misses. And that's what he's going to be watching. Turnovers and free throws and rebounding the long misses, which can give a team 3 possessions down the floor if everyone's down at the basket ready to box out and get a regular rebound. So those 3 areas, Jimmer's usually spot on with how to win these kind of games. And I think he's right. So I think rebounding, foul trouble, all that stuff can affect both sides. But Alabama is just they're the number 1 scoring team in the country, so you have to respect that, even if BYU is not far behind them. And maybe ahead of them over the last 3 weeks. But in this one, under these bright lights, these teenagers, and some of them are just going to have to play like men, and you're just not quite sure who's going to be.
Yeah, the angular length of Alabama, and they have hops. It just seems like you're right. Those long rebounds, it allows them to get something 8 to 10 feet away that otherwise would not be available. And that I've seen that again. Auburn, whoever they've played, it just seems like they do get multiple shots in each possession. Paul?
Dave, this is a really amazing experiment that 3 teams have pulled off, with Mark Pope going to Kentucky, Calipari going to Arkansas, and then Kevin Young at BYU. Why has Kevin Young been such a fit, especially seeing what the future is of college basketball, the present and the future, A.J. DeBonta and all that stuff, and being able to deal with NIL and having that NBA background to maybe shoot that into a program?
Yeah, I think he came in unflustered by the notion of NIL because he dealt with free agency for so long in the league. And it was a matter of, is there an NIL budget? And that's what you get to work from. And I think for the longest time, BYU has plenty of successful graduates, and there's plenty of money out there, but they haven't had a reason to donate. Now, football, that speaks for itself, but for basketball, you need a visionary to go, I'm going to invest in that guy, and he can get those guys. Mark Pope couldn't do it, but Kevin Young came in at the right time and proved that he could do it right away. And when they got Yegor Demon and even Cannon Catchings, outstanding, highly touted freshman, really Keba Keita came down from Utah. I think he was the first one to jump down with Kevin Young and the NBA-type staff that he put together. Everyone wants to go to the show. Most aren't going to, but they all believe they are. And so to go play for a staff that can get you there if your abilities are where they need to be, it's enticing. And he pulled this roster together pretty quickly. Richie Saunders is, Big 12. He's elevated his game significantly. I think he's been a pleasant surprise and has turned into become the guy for them. And no one knew who that guy was when they started. And Kevin will be the first to tell you, and he's told us throughout the season in our broadcast, I'm just figuring this out, right? This is not – he said if the NBA refs called games like the Big 12 refs, all the NBA players would be fouled out by halftime. And I think he's probably right. So he's had to adjust to this whole thing, and he's gotten better as it's gone along. I think that's why Cougar Nation is so hopeful is the team that got blown out by Providence in early December is now in the Sweet 16, getting better and better. And boy, as we've seen with Baylor's program, when that's going on, booster support comes out of the woodwork, and then you just keep building on it. And as you mentioned, A.J. DeVance and those guys are going to be in Provo here in a few months, and that's a whole different place that BYU basketball will be that they just haven't been. They weren't there with Jimmer because Jimmer came in with one scholarship offer other than BYU, and then he turned in the National Player of the Year. This DeVance kid's coming in ranked number 1 or number 2 in the world, and that's a different day here for sure.
If all the famous quarterbacks in BYU history walked into, let's say, a crowded arena, and then you also had, let's say Danny Ainge, Sean Bradley, among others that walked in, and then Jimmer walked in, would the loudest applause from everybody go to him?
Oh, without question. It's just a magical thing about him. And I think he mentioned being over in Denver last weekend. He was in the arena for the first time as a fan watching a tournament game in that same arena where he took BYU to the Sweet 16 in 2011. And he said, what amazed me is I'm walking through the crowd and I'm being stopped by Michigan fans, Wisconsin fans, VCU fans, asking for pictures and autographs and talking about how much fun he was to watch during that magical 2010-2011 season. And that's 14 years ago, but he still got it. He stayed relevant, made a little Olympic run with the 3-on-3, never really took root in the NBA, but Jimmermania, as they used to call it around here, still do, in fact. College basketball loves stories like that, and he was that one in 2011, and it still got some staying power.
So, Dave, if they win this game tonight, they've got to face Duke later on, or more than likely Duke or Arizona. Obviously, you'd want Arizona because you know them a little bit more. But do you think that no matter what happens, should they win, no matter what happens around them, that this is a team that can match up with pretty much anybody?
Well, anymore now, you got to play your best, no matter who it is, to have a fighting chance with the teams that are left. I think Arizona can give Duke big trouble tonight just because I think Love is an outstanding player and they have all that it takes. I think Arizona would like a rematch with BYU after the Cougars won in Tucson. Playing Duke, I think that's anybody's dream if you're marching toward the promised land. But BYU hasn't been where they are today for so long. And even you got to go back to Danny Ainge in 81 for the Elite Eight. I think that's beyond comprehension at the moment. And if they can beat Alabama, they can beat anybody left except for Houston. I just think Houston has got BYU figured out. And, man, I was surprised Gonzaga gave them a push. Haven't they just been so impressive from start to finish this year?
Oh, yeah. Tech beat them in Houston, and Tech had Toppin didn't play, got ejected, remember, early in that game.
Yeah,
but for the most part, not every game, but Houston is pretty much controlled from start to finish. And they had to rally a couple of times. But, no, they've been in cruise control almost start to finish.
The fun thing about tonight is by the end of it, we'll be scratching our head about something that we're going to see that we're not sure what it is yet, whether it's in this first game or in the games later on. But it's such a magical time. And to go back to your initial question, I think that's what has everyone captivated around here and around the country, even the world with BYU's following is it's a big night, it's a big game, and your team is finally in it. And, it's like waiting for the circus to start.
Dave, enjoy it. I know you will. You covered it in every angle. Appreciate your time. Love the story about Jimmer that you guys had in Deseret News, and we'll see what happens. I know that I don't think of I'm trying to think of anybody that was not a Power 4 team program university that moved into a Power 4 who has taken advantage of it better than perhaps BYU, who I never thought of as any kind of a G5. I always thought of BYU as a power team, but the door opened, they have come through it, and they seem like they're a great fit moving forward and ready for everything.
Well, and look what they did with football in just their second year.
Mm-hmm.
They've really made similar jumps in both, and I think they're here to stay. And I know you're running short on time. The Big 12 prepared BYU to play these kind of games where the Mountain West and the WAC and the WCC never did, and they just couldn't get out of the UConns, Syracuse, Texas A&M matchups. But now that the Big 12 has proven their mettle through this season in particular, now they're matching up with teams and they're going to toe-to-toe with them. And if they get Alabama tonight, that'll just be another one on the list that schedule in the Big 12 prepped them to deal with.
Hey, man, good to have you on. Appreciate it. Thanks for responding as quickly as you did. And also, like you said, full circle from when you were here back when you were young and spreading the word. Thanks for your time.
Love Texans. Thank you. Have a great day.
Dave McCann, Deseret News, and also BYU TV and many other things. Does a lot of the games on ESPN Plus when it's not a network game, and we appreciate his time. Danny Ainge, what was the game when he went coast to coast? Was it, oh, my God, he went coast to coast. Was it UCLA when he was at BYU? Notre Dame ended up being a hell of a player. Of course, won a couple of championships playing for Boston and has been an executive for the long, long time. He was player of the year, as was Fredette. Jimmer Fredette, who played and was a part of that 2010-11 team, as he mentioned, that went into the NCAA tournament and made a pretty nice run. All right, Garrett Ross is running the mothership. Andrew Valade is here. And we will have tonight at 10:30, 365 Sports Tonight on the local CW. We have much more to get to. David Smoak, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and more. And this is 365 Sports. The Baylor alumni fan engagement, Doug Furch and Paul Thorpe. Anytime that they're traveling around the country for something athletics, no different than if you're a fan of, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, or who it might be, you have yours. So when there's an event, contact your alumni base and, of course, find out if there's a watch party for you where you live that it's outside of where your team is playing. Baylor does that when they're on the road. Basketball's done, so any type of watch parties or any type of, pep rallies or send-offs or whatever, that's done for now. But your school has one. Baylor has one. I've seen it in motion before, and they do a great job. The Baylor Alumni Fan Engagement with Paul Thorpe and Doug Furch.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Craig will have Off the Radar in about an hour. We'll have Max Olson at the top of the hour. But Major League Baseball's opening day, there were, a couple of games in Japan. But Hurtado Barbecue, not a sponsor of this show, but I saw this earlier. In Arlington, the Rangers are playing Boston. This is what you can get with whatever they call this. A platter with every possible thing imaginable, I guess you could say, when it comes to barbecue.
That appears to be some birria tacos there. We're probably made with brisket, some nachos, just brisket, a beef rib, which that's like a beef rib and two sides is more than a meal. And a beef rib, honestly, is my favorite. Little like barbecue delicacy because man, it's good. It's just so good. But you cannot finish a whole beef rib if you get a beef rib like that. Now sometimes
the one with the bone in it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's unreal. I had one once at Franklin Barbecue in Austin, and it was I thought it was Fred Flintstone.
And then you have all the brisket off to the right, Greg. I would die if I had that. Not because it's bad.
That's not for one. That's not for one person. That's for, let's say, 6 people.
I don't know. I think some of those tacos are also pulled pork.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that makes sense.
Because I saw a video of
I would say the ones that are right there by the brisket is probably the pulled pork, and these ones down here in the bottom are the birria, which has caught fire here the last couple of years.
What are those drinks?
That I don't know.
Kind of got some.
Tell you. But Hurtado Barbecue has a great reputation in DFW. I've not personally been there. It's on my list of places to go. But
really,
yeah, I've not. I've heard of it though. Like there's.
Yeah, I would probably want the big tomahawk rib, as you mentioned.
Yeah,
the beef
rib. Yeah, the Fred
Flintstone.
Fred Flintstone.
All right, now there's a topic, and we've just got 2 or 3, 4 minutes on this. We'll have Max Olson at 4. Marcia Lycan, who's the assistant head coach at William and Mary Soccer, she had a couple of notes last night about ideas about the Olympic sports in college. Football is going to make theirs. Men's basketball is going to make theirs. Maybe a handful of teams in women's basketball make money. Not many, even with the new increased amount of money available in the tournament. Baseball, of course, can be a hellacious sport, and that's now kind of, a month and a half or so into the season. She said now that the NCAA has basically blown up college sports without any planned rollout or vision of an end game, it would be a great time to examine the prospect of total conference realignment for the Olympic sports where there is no revenue. Do you think they'll ever do that? Do you think that the teams in the SEC or the Big Ten or elsewhere would consolidate in a way and not have those conferences in a way that they do with football, men's and women's basketball or baseball?
Ask me that question again.
Do you think that schools, no matter the conference, bigger conferences or not, will ever consolidate in a way the Olympic sports and more regionalize than they do now with those sports that are revenue producers?
Yeah, I've been saying since the beginning, eventually they're going to have to, because it's just not going to make any sense. And you're going to have trouble. And I'll use Colorado and Oregon in the Pac-12 as the example. There's going to be a lot of these where the conference tries to make something a rivalry. And so when Colorado went to the Pac-12, they're like, okay, well, who do we make a rival for them? Let's make Oregon their rival, I guess because of legal weed. I don't know. Like, what's the they're similar states or whatever. I don't know. Why they decided to do that. But both Colorado and Oregon were like, yeah, I mean, we don't want to lose to you, but we don't care. And so if you can't create that in football, the sport they care about the most, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to create it in softball and basketball and volleyball, all those things down the line, baseball, especially those sports that play more than one game a week. Football, it's not such a big deal. You play once a week. In basketball and everything else, you are 2 games a week, sometimes 3, maybe even 4 if you're softball. When you think about, you play a couple double headers and you do all these things. So you have all this going on. Eventually, you're going to have to re-regionalize it, and it's going to make sense. And no one's going to be mad about that at all. Like that was something that's almost like they should have thought out beforehand. And well,
that's why she said without any planned rollout or vision of an end game.
Yeah. No, they didn't. Like we'll figure it. Like the thing is, they want the big money right now. So they're like, okay, we're going to take the big money right now, and then we'll figure out, like, we'll do a cost-benefit analysis of all the other things that aren't the big money later on, mostly probably because they thought, there's a lot of them that thought, like, this will finally give me an excuse to get rid of them. I mean, there are more ADs out there than we realize that would love to get rid of sports.
Greg, any opinion on this?
I mean, it's another the sky is falling type of thing, but I get that it's an area that needs to be looked into. It's just that I don't think they've gotten around to it because I don't think they care. I don't think they have this as a priority of, what about A&T? Why haven't we put that at the top of the priority list? We got to figure out where they're going to be. I don't think that that's near the top of the priorities, which is why they need people like her to step up and, say something and maybe bring attention to it. So that's all well and good, but the thing I'm more tired of than just the whole sky is falling thing all the time is the placing of blame from people at universities when the universities make up the NCAA and the university presidents are the ones that have as much say in some of these things that have happened as anybody. So the school's playing the victim is getting really old.
Well, the school, this is a coach.
And I get it's a coach that has no say in this, but Absolutely it's like, go talk to your school president.
Yeah.
Go talk to your athletic director. And maybe she has. And so I'm not trying to make this about her, but it's just like every day there's something. So, yeah, I mean, as to the point of her opinion there, I maintain that the reason why they haven't gotten around to it is because it's not a priority. I think that's very clear. And they'll eventually get to it when it matters to get to it. But first, they got to sort out football and basketball and the things they actually do care about because they care about them because they make them money. But her idea, I think on the surface is, totally fine. Like, go for it. I don't think anybody will bat an eye or really care that much if women's soccer decides to go back to the Pac-12. Now, maybe there'd be a North Carolina fan who's like, no, I want to be in the Big Ten or, something like that. But, I mean, those are case-by-case basis. Just a sweeping thought on it is, go ahead and I don't think there's any new opinion here because I think for the longest time now, the last 2 years, there's been talk about, any number of the chart makers that have here's what the re-envisioned going back to locally geographic conferences would look like. And you're like, oh, wow, that was the old Big Eight. We had that, and then money ruined that. And now everybody's like, well, what if we went back to this? I think it's impossible in football, obviously. They don't want to do that. In basketball, I'm not sure. But in all the other sports, baseball probably wouldn't want to do that at this point. But in all the other sports, yeah, sure. Why not? To save everybody money on travel, to her point, save the headaches, the mental health aspect that she pointed out with the students, all of that. Mm-hmm. Just in general, on the surface, I'm in favor of her idea. But, again, I don't think it's much of a priority, which is why there's not been maybe movement like she would like to see on it.
I get so tired of hearing, and I know that some are going to go, oh, hell with you. She doesn't have any clout. She's just saying, I appreciate the fact that she put out her opinion, and then we get to Max. I get so tired of hearing that everyone is prioritizing mental health of our student athletes and requiring Big Ten women's soccer teams to fly coast to coast twice a week, probably during midterms, as if our 2-game per week model isn't enough. With the physical abuse for these young kids, we could make it 10 times harder when it doesn't need to be. I appreciate the fact that she spoke out. Maybe she gets neutered on that. I don't know.
She's not.
But she's just putting out an opinion.
Yeah, and that's her opinion, and here's my opinion is that, it's valid, but I don't think it's a priority, and I don't think she's saying anything all that brand new because we were talking about Stanford having to go all the way to play North Carolina in women's basketball when the first realignment rumors were out there. So you knew this was coming. This was going to be part of it. I think everybody's adjusted as best they can, and there's room for change, and so she's somebody who, like a lot of other people, think that maybe you could do something different with different sports, but I just don't know where that is on the to-do list for the people that actually can make those choices. So her thoughts are great, but, beyond that, there's nothing more to really add to it because she's like everybody else got some thoughts on how it could be better, but the people that actually make those decisions aren't making those decisions right now, it appears.
All right, Breaker, you got Max.
No, I got Max.
Max Olson, ESPN.com with us on 365 Sports. Max, we appreciate it. What's in your opinion, anything in particular, not rattle your cage, but anything in the portal that has kind of caught your attention more than anything else?
I think we still haven't heard a lot of names that are expected to go in here when this opens up in a couple of weeks. But I do think that it's going to be an interesting period because I think a lot of teams kind of tried to address all of their needs in December and kind of go on their spending sprees during that window. And so expectation from talking to a lot of GMs is that there's maybe not as much need and desperation this time around, but I think at the same time, this is kind of the last chance to go really spend on those last few guys here before this goes under a salary cap. So interested to see, do we see some big names move? We usually don't see quarterbacks move, obviously, in the spring. But for those teams that have national championship ambitions, what are those last few players they need to go get, and how premium a player can you find?
Max, do you it's so hard to even gauge because most people want to be at their new school at the beginning of the semester. So what would have to happen in the spring to get somebody to really be prompted to leave that would make them attractive other than they just waited to the spring and they were going to be attractive no matter what? Because most people in the portal now will have lost starting jobs. So to me, that's just filling up the back of my roster.
Yeah, and I also think from a financial standpoint, if you wanted to make a move this offseason, you should have gone in December because that was when teams were had a lot more money to spend with all of this house settlement money that they could start allocating for next year. And so now that the money's a little bit more tight, if a guy's going now, it's sort of well, why didn't you go in December? But there's always going to be those situations where either a guy is falling behind on the depth chart or he just gets to a place and the role is maybe not what he was promised when he was recruited and things like that. You are going to have kind of those depth chart things, and you're going to certainly have coaches cutting guys too as they try to get down to 105 here. That rule is going to kind of go into effect by week 1, so you got to get your roster down to 105. And I think the expectation is most people are going to go to 85 scholarship players, and it's not going to be hugely different from the past, but you're going to have to cut some walk-ons here before we get to the end of August.
Max, I'm sure, and I think we probably asked you in one of your recent appearances about your thoughts on just the changing of spring schedules, games, the way it's being viewed now in light of the portal and all of that. Dion and Fran Brown obviously looking to get a waiver to try to practice together, but we just saw Mike Gundy proposing, a whole relationship with Oklahoma where they, go back and forth each spring and have practices together and all of that. Just kind of what feedback have you gotten on the whole idea? How popular of an idea do you think it is? And what are your thoughts on this reimagining of spring and even going so far as to have, an Oklahoma State Bedlam set of practices, if at all possible?
I mean, the pitch from Mike Gundy, who says no? I think I love the idea. Obviously, these coaches don't want to go live and they don't want to have injuries and season-ending injuries. So, that's obviously a piece of it. You're not going to, really try to go through a real game against a real opponent. But in terms of being able to kind of do that NFL thing of, mixed practices against another program, like Deion Sanders and Fran Brown talking about, I love the concept. I think if teams are willing to do it, I mean, obviously – in basketball, you have, teams do those kind of closed door scrimmages and stuff like that. This goes on. Why can't we figure this out for football? Obviously there's red tape and there's rules and there's things like that stand in the way. But I think certainly, the Bedlam point is a great point, because obviously those ADs are kind of stubbornly sticking to the non-conference schedules that they have set up, and there's not a lot of motivation for those schools to schedule each other here in the future. So why don't we do something in the spring and raise money that can go to NIL and things like that? Like I would love to see those things happen, and obviously it plays into a larger conversation about, well, why can't we rethink this stuff? Because 15 practices and a spring game is not exactly what everyone's really looking for at this point.
Max, we tend to, fans, media, whoever, maybe even the industry, react quickly to something without really a long enough trend. For example, the college football playoff after the first game, Indiana, Notre Dame, oh my God. And then, even the NCAA tournament, there's not enough mid-majors. What's going on? Is it the portal? In the transfer portal for college football, will there be a limit, or will there eventually be maybe something that rounds off where it doesn't continue to go higher and higher what it costs to bring in players in the portal?
Do you mean the cost, or do you mean the number of players that go in the portal?
Or either what? Let's say the number of players. Will that eventually kind of calm down, or is it always going to be? I saw a note. That doesn't mean they all were in the portal, but like West Virginia and a bunch of other teams were in that 50-plus range on new players on their roster. Could be high school players they signed. But do you think that'll eventually slow down a little bit?
I don't think the keeping a player, like a player can't leave. They're locked in for multiple years. They can't go in the portal. I just don't think we're going to get to that point until there's collective bargaining. I really don't. I just think that the way this continues to trend, I mean, obviously the NCAA likes the compromise of the one-time transfer rule, and then letting grads transfer. I think they sort of like that as hey, let's just agree to this. We can stop doing all the BS around waivers. You get one, the next ones you got to sit out. I think administrators were fairly okay with that compromise. And then obviously a year ago, you get that struck down, and now it's a free-for-all in every sport. And I just don't know how you're going to be able to, put the toothpaste back in the tube there until this truly is, there's a players union and there's collective bargaining and there's actual, enforceable contracts. I just don't really see how we get there. The portal numbers go up every year. Certainly they're going to try to limit the spending with the House settlement and the caps here going forward. But I think we all know that is inevitably and probably pretty quickly going to get challenged in court as well.
Yeah, Max, I'm constantly befuddled by the college football leadership knowing that there's an answer to their problems. They know what it is. They don't want it, but to me now it would be like going to the doctor and said, "Listen, we're gonna have to fix your knee. Like you've got a torn ACL and all this stuff, or you're not gonna be able to walk." And they're like, "No, I'll shake it off." Well, eventually there'll be another thing. Like collective bargaining is the only way to solve this problem. Shouldn't they just get behind it at this point?
Well, I mean, obviously that is the ultimate fight still is not wanting student athletes to be classified as employees. And that is, they are still, I mean, I don't know what year we're on now. It's been several years of trying to persuade DC to, help you with legislation so that you can kind of solve the antitrust problem here. I mean, when you talk to coaches and GMs, they're not going to say this publicly, but privately, I think there's some acknowledgement of you know what, in the next couple of years here, they're probably going to be employees. It's probably going to change, and in some ways, maybe that's better, right? I'm not saying it's simple. It's obviously easier said than done, but I do think there's some recognition that that's coming down the road here. Now, what are the steps that it takes to actually activate that? That's still going to be a knockdown, drag out process. But I do think we are inching closer to just accepting the inevitability there.
Max, there was a little bit of coaching news. Troy Taylor is out at Stanford. GM Andrew Luck, which is weird to say that, but that's just all the rage now. But GM Andrew Luck making that decision since they have a situation also with the athletic director spot. So just your thoughts on the timing of it, the ill-fated Taylor tenure, and now what you think about that job moving forward.
Craig, when you say GM Andrew Luck, does it make you feel old?
It does, yes. Very much so, yes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely unusual situation there when you have an outgoing athletic director in Bernard Muir. So essentially, Andrew Luck kind of having kind of the autonomy to say, like, I'm going to look at this program and I'm going to look at the issues that we've had so far and make a determination here that this is not the guy to move forward. Very interested to see what Stanford does. Obviously, they could lose players to the portal here. They've still got some good players that could definitely entertain that, and I'm sure are currently being recruited. Obviously, I feel like we always have one of these every year, and usually you kind of like maybe go more of an interim route here. So will Stanford kind of look for a one-year solution here, or are they going to run a full coaching search and can find someone that can really bring that job back to being? I mean, you remember at the peak of David Shaw,
Yep.
That was an extremely competitive, you would say almost playoff level program for quite a while there. And so, ACC is a whole different beast for them, but very interested to see what they can do in terms of finding a coach who can stabilize things there. And, I think that's one of those programs that certainly intentionally fell behind on NIL and has fallen behind on a lot of the rule changes and stuff. And I think Andrew Luck is going to have to play a really critical role there in terms of bringing them up to speed and making them competitive in a conference where certainly at the very top, you've got programs that are willing to spend a lot of money.
Have you ever followed that? Is it a parody account with Andrew Luck as the general?
Yeah.
When he writes home to his mother.
Yes.
He's out. He did one of those for the change at Stanford in football, too. I thought it was great. Max, general manager, you mentioned this. Nothing anymore, like, you think we'll ever see this? I don't think we could ever say, no, there's no way, because of all that's changed. Can you ever see where a general manager in football runs that department and actually peels part of that away from the athletic director's office?
Well, I think the Andrew Luck example is it's honestly, I mean, again, a little bit unusual because of the athletic director situation, but I do think we've seen, that's one of several examples I think we've seen this offseason where the general manager is coming in and that person has been hired by the athletic director. I mean, obviously the football coach is going to sign off on it and you want the football coach to feel comfortable with it. But I think we are seeing examples this offseason, and you can point to like USC and Oklahoma and others too that have brought in GMs where it's like, okay, they're reporting to the AD and, that this person is going to be here regardless of whether we go through a coaching search. And that's pretty unusual, obviously, in recent history for college football, where these staffs are always kind of tied together and they win together or they lose together, they get fired together. I think if we transition to a world where those guys are kind of mainstays, and even if we have problems with the coaching staff, we fire him. The GM is still here and still managing this roster. I think that certainly creates a different dynamic and one where you have, it's not just like a front office in name, but one that has some decision making power. So interested to see kind of how those evolve, because that's always been, there's still a lot of programs where the head coach is really the final say on roster and players and that kind of decision making. But certainly we are empowering more and more guys like Luck who are going to have a little more say so than just the director of player personnel.
Max, back to Troy Taylor for a second. It seemed at the time to me like they kind of settled on it because he didn't have to move very far. Like he was right there in their area, because Stanford doesn't really know what they want to be right now, do they?
Well, it's tough. I want to say it was like him and maybe Jason Garrett. I'm trying to remember who else was in the mix at that time. Troy Taylor actually, to his credit, they were successful at the FCS level at Sacramento State. And actually in his final year there, they had Scadaboo as his running back. So obviously they were able to find some pretty good players out there. And now that program is turning over again with Brendan Marion taking it over. But I do think it's tough. Like, I think the intellectual brutality, kind of the we want to be, a high level academic program that's also, producing, power teams, and linemen and backs. And like, I think David Shaw and before him, Jim Harbaugh, obviously they did a pretty impressive job of building the brand of here's what we're going to do. And they were able to recruit at a high level when they won Rose Bowls and when they won a lot of games there. They put together great recruiting classes with McCaffrey and all the guys they had there. But yeah, I just think the job has changed a ton over there in the last 5 years, and obviously became very difficult for David Shaw to maintain it. And now you're in a conference that just out of necessity, just to stay in the mix here. I think it's you could argue it's the most challenging Power 4 job out there. In when you factor in the disadvantages, but at the same time, like, you got some recent success, and that's, you would think, is enough to draw a coach that really believes in himself.
Yeah, they had Plunkett win the Heisman. Elway was there. Christian McCaffrey was I think was in New York when they announced the year he was leaving. And Bill Walsh, Jim Harbaugh, Dennis Green. And you mentioned David Shaw. When I thought about Stanford
Toby
football,
Gerhardt.
there you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How could I forget him?
Touchdown, Tommy Vardell.
There you go. They had a team that played a pro style most of the time, and they just seemed like, that they were always very competitive, but it just seemed like they have slipped, no doubt. The way that college football enters now, the spring, the drills, the games, or whatever, do you see whether or not the portal would change? Will it be one time and not twice? Will it change because if college football changes spring football and moves it more into a pro format?
Do I think we'll get away from the spring portal?
Yes.
Is what you're asking?
Yes.
It's a great question, and one that I've definitely asked people around the sport about. I don't know that, there's the proposal from the AFCA of like, hey, let's move this to January. I think that's one where you view that as, hey, this protects the postseason a little bit more, that you hopefully don't have the situations we saw, for example, Bo Prabula, the back quarterback at Penn State, transferring to Missouri, of like guys having to leave playoff teams to go make their moves. I think that's the thing that coaches obviously want to prevent and get very frustrated about. So I think there's there's that pitch that they put forward at their convention in January. To me though, it's one of those conversations that like it's like just one piece of the whole like broken puzzle. Like you could say, hey, let's go to one portal date and not do spring and all that. I don't think it fixes the fact that the whole calendar is messed up, and I think that's just going to have to be part of kind of overhauling the whole thing. I talked to one GM a couple weeks ago who suggested, like, what if we just did the portal in February, and then you don't have that pressure of getting guys into school, and you can have they can take their time in terms of making visits. Coaches can take their time. That would be after the draft decisions and all that, so you kind of know what your needs are. Like, can we do this in maybe a little bit more of a low pressure way? But when you talk about stuff like that, it's like, okay, but in that scenario, we're changing our whole calendar from December to July, right? Like that's part of a larger overhaul there, because you have to take a very different approach to spring practice and all that. So like, I think there's maybe a future where there's just one portal period. I think that's common sense to a lot of people. But right now, I think coaches still like having the ability to get guys at the end, and address those needs at post spring when they have injuries and stuff like that. So it's like you understand the overall, like, man, this is dumb. The NFL doesn't do 2 free agency periods. Why does college? But I do think it's like one of those things that it's just part of the larger conversation of this whole thing needs to get fixed. And if fixing it includes just having one portal period, I think people would be happy with that. But I don't think so far there's a magical solution to it.
We had Craig Bull from the AFCA on. It's been 2 or 3 weeks. Of course, that's located here about a mile from where we broadcast our podcast. And one of the things did any coaches sit in any of the meetings when they decided when they would have the portal? Or is that just like administrators, presidents, ADs? Did anyone ask the coaches for their opinion? Do they ever really have them in those same, where someone could say, hey, like, for example, the Sweet 16s decided the next day the portal's open in basketball, which is nuts to me. Maybe it's just me, but does any of the do they ever ask those who might be affected more than anybody else?
I mean, I believe that coaches and ADs have some voice on the football oversight committee, and that's a step in the process of getting these things eventually in front of the Division I council who makes those decisions. But certainly you hear that refrain all the time, especially when you go to the AFCA convention in January, of like these coaches, 60 to 70 of them show up and get in a room together. And I think that you frequently hear them kind of say like, well, nobody's asking us, or nobody's listening to our input or taking our voice seriously on this stuff. And I think that's a constant fight for coaches. I know Todd Berry felt that way and was kind of trying to fight to gain ground on these fronts and wanting their point of view represented as we modernize these things. And, I think that's a frustration for coaches, especially with how quickly things change and how quickly things have changed really since 2020 with COVID. So I just think, like basketball going on right now, it's crazy. And I'm sure there's reasons why they came up with that. But it almost puts the teams that are still playing, it almost burns them a little bit and becomes a disadvantage.
Do you have time for one more?
Sure.
You saw where St. Francis, Division I basketball team, small school, small campus, decided to opt down to Division III. Can you ever see the 31 or so Division I FBS football teams, any of them, maybe not now, maybe letting the dust settle with the House settlement? Can you see that happening at that level, opting down?
Well, not for the power, unless we just have like more like crazy realignment and more schools just straight up get left out of this stuff the way that Oregon State and Washington State did, where you just don't have the TV money to compete. For a group of 5 schools, like I do think that's you're going to have some pretty tough conversations over the next few years about how do we afford this stuff. And I think even for Power 4 schools, that's been a conversation over the past years. Like, okay, yes, we can give this much money to these student athletes. Where are we getting that money from? And so, yeah, like I do think that is going to be a topic. I don't think that we're going to necessarily see a bunch of G5 schools suddenly drop off the map, but I do think that, it's all easier said than done when it comes to paying the student athlete. Like I know, like we see them waste money every year on stuff, right? And we sort of say like, well, why haven't they been paying the players when coaches' salaries go up, facilities go up, all this kind of stuff. But obviously it's a pretty messed up business that's been trying to break even forever. And so when you have to adjust to this new model, you've got schools that just are not very equipped to be competitive. So yeah, you kind of understand it at a lower level. How do like, we have to comply with this, but what does that look like? I do think that that's a thing that over the next 5 to 10 years, and then as we get into TV deals again down the road, stuff like that. There's going to be some schools that just have to be honest that they do not have the funds to live in this new world.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate your time. Max Olson, ESPN.com, where there's a lot all in the middle of it, the transfer portal, with us on most Thursdays at around 4 o'clock. By the way, I mentioned St. Francis. St. Francis basketball coach Rob Krimmel has announced he's retiring. They're the ones that just recently announced they're opting. He's 47 years old. Didn't have a winning record. Tough job. They took him to the tournament this year. They're transitioning. I don't know if 47 he's going to retire from coaching basketball, but announced that he's retiring. And so he's now no longer going to be the head coach at St. Francis. When we come back, John Cooper, our lad's guide to the NFL draft, and maybe his thoughts about Quinn Ewers and the workout earlier this week at Austin, among other things. And then, of course, Craig and Off the Radar and more. This is 365 Sports. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco, in between Richland Drive and Valley Mills. 48-foot walk-in humidor. Rocky Patel, my favorite brand for cigars, Ashton, Macanudo, Arturo Fuente, Romeo, and Julieta. And they have also a wall when you walk into the, there are 2 different doors to walk into the 48-foot walk-in humidor. Off to the right, there's a wall with military and veteran cigars that they produce, that are produced and brought to Don Humidor. Also, a few of them that are just from those who live in Texas that have their own special type cigars that they've made. Vita Dreams is something that's a gummy that I take at night to help me kind of just chill a little bit. does not make me feel like I've taken anything. It just, for some reason, allows you to relax and fall asleep and maybe get a few more minutes of sleep. And they also have for bad days, for chronic pain, very bad pain. You take one of those and you'll be just fine. It's Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, Joshua and Cheyenne in the Town West Shopping Center between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
John Cooper, our lad's guide to the NFL Draft, joins us, 365 Sports, and appreciate John making time with us today, and always good to hear from him. What did you hear from the Quinn Ewers Pro Day in Austin this week, John?
Not much, to be honest with you. I've been too busy with, we have a guy that, monitored that, and he's been working with the, to get the numbers. But we've been working on the guide nonstop.
Oh, that's right.
Any time to look at anything in the last couple of days. But, I think the workouts were as expected. That's all our guys said about it.
Well, what do you see from when you've watched him over the last couple of years? He seems to have a flawless throwing motion.
Who are you talking about now? Ewers?
Yeah, Quinn Ewers. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I see inconsistency, to be honest with you. I think he's got the mechanics. He's been well coached, but there are some times where especially when he's off platform, the ball sails on him at times. I think he's had some struggles with flat out consistency, but the talent is definitely there.
John, the Titans have the number 1 pick, obviously. In your mind, is it Cam Ward right now, and then we can start trying to figure out what in the world the Browns are going to do?
Probably. Titans need a quarterback very badly. I at the same time, if it was us, we just did a mock draft for our guide, and we drafted Cam Ward. So yeah, we're like everybody else, but there's a part of us and a part of our group that say, hey, let's bypass him and let's take the best football player in this draft and take a quarterback later on.
John, you started talking about Texas there at the beginning about Quinn Ewers. They obviously had like 20 guys that were working out as ridiculous, and I think we've asked you about a lot of them. But where does a guy like a Jaden Blue, the running back, where does he fit into the big picture? Because there's a lot of names being talked about, but he's not one that I've heard as often as a lot of the others.
We like him. Our guys, that we've done some things with him in terms of watching him. And the guy who does running backs for us, he has a pretty good feeling about him. He thinks he's a guy that's going to be more of a late round guy, but he's got a chance. He runs hard. We'll just have to wait and see.
He turned it over a few times, didn't he? Isn't that one of the things about him, that he didn't protect the football? When he got loose, it was over.
Yeah, speed. Definitely. So, he's a solid player. I take that back. I don't think we have late round on him at all. I'm looking right now. I mean, we've got him as potentially our draft range puts him as potentially a second round pick, late, but more likely a third. Our guy likes him a lot. He likes the speed. He likes, some of the elusiveness. He's only 196 pounds, but he runs a 4.38 40. And so he, like you said, he's gone. So I'm not going to, knock him down. In fact, we're a little higher on him than I think most people, because we were just talking about him. I'm just looking for his name on our list, because we went back and forth as to where we wanted to put him. And we ended up with, a top of the third round grade.
Dante Thornton at Tennessee, 6'5", 200 pounds, runs a 4.37. The production maybe not there as much as some of the other Tennessee wide receivers, but he seems to be getting a lot of buzz right now. What's your assessment of him?
Well, there are so many receivers, in this draft that it's kind of hard to put him, at the top of the pile. We're a little bit down the line on him for sure. We just haven't seen enough what we could call production, to put him up there, real high. But, hey, he's a player. And, we've got something like 38, 39 wide receivers that have grades that are draftable. But the group in itself as a whole is not that great.
Was there anything that came out of the Big 12 workouts last week that made it your way? I know we had another analyst on, said that there's some ways they could improve the whole event, the lack of the star power actually participating, like Teterow, McMillan, Shador Sanders. Like, Shador was there, but he didn't work out. McMillan had already worked out separately. So I guess they didn't have quite the star power, but was there anything that came from that you saw as beneficial to any prospects in particular?
No, not really. Our philosophy on pro days is you go there, you time them, height, weight, speed, medicals, all those kinds of things you're looking for. And, unless something comes out that is absolutely different from what they've done before, it really doesn't have as much of an effect. I mean, they go because, the scouts are there, but the guys that are the coaches and things like that, they're looking at the GPS speeds. They want to see the data from the season, and that is much more important. Now, if a guy shows up that pro day that's a 290-pounder normally, and he's 370 or something crazy like that, yeah, they want to know that. They want to know if there's an injury. They want to know if their workout performances are not up to snuff. Why is that? I think if you remember right, Jalen Carter, the big defensive tackle, he was out of shape. And a lot of people dropped them down on their board dramatically. Well, that probably was a mistake. Look at what you saw as a football player on the field. And these other things are important, but they're not that revealing unless there's something dramatically different.
Where do you have I asked one of our other guests, where do you have Ollie Gordon ranked? I mean, he was a Heisman candidate 2 years ago. And then Oklahoma State was bad. And it seems like he's suffering a bit of the brunt of that, but he was healthy all year. He's still pretty fantastic, isn't he?
We like him. He doesn't have straight line speed that is what you would call elite, and I think that's the only thing that really knocks him down. He's a good back. He's got good power. He's got enough elusiveness that he can make people miss. He gets some yards after contact. He's 6'1", 226. He's a big kid. He's a nice back. And I think the Oklahoma State team was not what it's been, and so his productivity may have been down a little bit. But we still like him. We've got a grade on him that is, probably fourth round, fourth round is, I think, the grade range we put on him. And we think he's a solid player. And he's another one we went back and forth on. Good year for running backs. And that's going to affect this in terms of where these guys go. Teams look at him differently. But, we've got a number of, I think, like 27, 28 guys with draftable grades. So it's a good year for running backs.
Desmond Watson from Florida had a pro day down in Gainesville, 6'6", 464 pounds. He did 36 bench press reps. He covered 40 yards in 5.93 seconds. I think that's a miracle. I mean, I don't know if any of us could run it right now. And then he also had a 25 or so inch vertical. What do you know about him other than the fact he's a huge human being?
Well, two things. There's two factors with him. I watched film on him because I got some of the same information earlier in the year, and I went and watched him. In the first quarter, he was dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
Second, third, fourth, not so much.
Yep.
And when I say dynamite, he got a push. He did a nice job. He's not a guy that was escaping and getting pressure on the quarterback, but he was playing the run. He was clogging up the middle, and he was doing a lot of nice things. We think he's a free agent. I think somebody's going to bring him into camp. I think what was the weight you gave me on that one?
464 pounds, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's about what we had. I thought you had said 406, but it's four. So he's still just as big as he was earlier. And I had a guy tell me, "Oh, you got to look at this kid. He's really this and that." And I watched him, and I think he'll get into a camp. Like you say, he's a huge, huge human being. But I think he's going to be rotational.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be a guy on the field all the time. I think somebody's going to bring him in, and I don't know, what they're going to do with him. But he's got some things. He's got some redeeming qualities as a football player. Let's put it that way.
I would think if you're going to play Philadelphia twice a year and you're in the NFC East, you bring him into camp because he could help you with that Jalen Hurts tush push or whatever you want to call it. Just stick him there. That gives you a better chance.
That's a good point. Well, if you get him and Carter on the field together, they might not get the whole defensive line on there, right?
No. John, I can't remember for sure last week. We normally have you on Wednesdays, but we were at Pro Day in Frisco, as Craig brought up. Did we ask you about Corey Black when he ran a 4.35, the cornerback at Oklahoma State last week in Frisco?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, he's been there for, I think it's his fourth year at Oklahoma State, but when somebody pops a number that maybe wasn't on a radar. I asked you about the young man at A&M, what was it? A&M.
Yeah, we looked at him. If he's 5'7", he's 5'7".
Yeah. So, he's very small, very spindly.
But a little film, and that's going to be a negative on him. Corey Black, we do not have a lot of information on, other than the 40 time, and he's not, he's not in the top, what we would call group of guys that are draftable. Now, that doesn't mean somebody's not going to jump up and really like him, but that's kind of where we're at with him. We don't. The 40 times are 40 times. I've coached kids that running a 4.340, 4.35, 4.4 just means you get to the wrong place faster. So that's 40 times are 40 times, and they're an indicator of certain things, but they're not necessarily a great indicator of overall football skill.
Is there any philosophy on what you use when it comes to compensatory picks that are extra picks because you've lost somebody? Is that to fill out depth, or is that maybe you find somebody because you have those extra 3 to 4 picks in a draft?
Sometimes I think it works both. I think it works both ways. You can find somebody occasionally. There's a late round pick. I know these teams like to slot players, positions they want to draft. Let's say in the 6th round or 5th round, we would like to draft an edge rusher, and there's 5 guys that we want. We know that some of those guys aren't going to probably be there, but these are the 5 we would take. And if not, we're going to go on to another position. It may be a special teamer. It may be something that is a position that not necessarily need, but is a great football player. So we're going to take them there. So sometimes one of those guys that you've slotted that you would like to take is there for whatever reason. They drop down. Some guys dropped out of the draft. So you just never know. But for sure, teams that love special teams like to look at those guys with those later round, 6th, 7th round compensatory picks.
All right, so we've mentioned Cam Ward. You mentioned Cam Ward. Paul brought up Cam Ward. That appears to be the number 1 overall pick. Teams that pick up free agents like the Giants, no matter what they do or what they've done, do you feel like that's still going to be Shedeur Sanders or not?
The funny thing was, when we did our mock draft, we have 3 different guys that are doing it. And, we're all over the place, from different parts of the country doing it, and different interests, different teams we follow and whatnot. And the guy who was drafting for the Giants texted me during the draft, and he said, I'm 99% sure I don't want to do this, but I think I have to. And so Shedeur Sanders went to the Giants. So that's a really tough call. A part of me thinks that, a team maybe ought to think about bypassing and going ahead and taking a quarterback later on down the line that maybe not as highly regarded, maybe a Jalen Milroe, a Jackson Dart, somebody like that has some tools. Ewers, for example, is a guy that could fall in that category. Will Howard, take him later in the draft, take him where you think you can get him and work with that kid. And you've got Russell Wilson, let him play. And then let this guy learn and be mentored. I think that's what's going to happen no matter who the Giants take. And I think that's a wise strategy.
Why would people not do more like what Andy Reid did with Patrick Mahomes than not? Or is it just there's so much pressure to win now because people are so impatient?
I think that's a good point there, because we were talking about that the other day, and we were talking about, all right, who's had some really good success with quarterbacks over the years? And we've said, Green Bay Packers. What's the common denominator in all 3 of those great Packer quarterbacks? If you want to consider Jordan Love one, and we kind of do, we think he's going to be really good. They sat around for a while. Even though Favre was in Atlanta, Aaron Rodgers sat around for a while, and he learned. And I think that's a great strategy. I look at the Chicago Bears. Why in the world did not they have a veteran quarterback in the program last year instead of a Division II kid, Tyson Bagent, as your backup? Caleb Williams, no matter what, was going to get thrown to the wolves. And I don't think that was a wise decision.
One more thing. Paul, what was the note about Shamar Stewart?
He didn't do anything at the pro day because he's already been invited to the draft. But, John, he doesn't have he's going to be a weird one because his metrics are off the chart, but his production as far as sacking the quarterback is pretty low. Now, he was on a pretty darn good defensive line last year, which includes Nick Skirton, who's also going to be a really high draft pick. But it's kind of surprising to me that he's already been invited to the draft, meaning that they expect him to be a first-round pick. But he doesn't, to me, numbers say he's a bit of a tweener.
Well, we've gone back and forth on him, and I've kind of finally decided after talking to the metrics people, things like his GPS, his quickness, his acceleration, he's got all the tools to be a great pass rusher, in terms of the metrics. And you're right, the production with him and Skirton, both, it is surprising that, as good a player as they are, and they really flash great skill. The thing about him, watching him play, though, he's close a lot. He gets pressure and sometimes uncredited pressure on quarterbacks. So there's a lot to like about him. He plays the run. He's a guy that NFL teams, some like to have a guy play edge and then slide him down inside in the nickel. And there's a perfect candidate to do that, because one of the things teams need is inside pass rush. They need a push. They need somebody that can escape. If you can't double team both tackles. So one of those tackles is going to have a chance to work a move and do some things. And you get into those nickel situations, a guy like Stewart is going to have some value. Yeah, there's always a little risk. You don't know for sure if he's going to be, not going to be productive in the NFL. But I look at some guys like Odafe Owe. He didn't have a sack his senior year. Ravens took him in the first round based on just what I was talking about, the metrics, quickness off the ball, things of that nature. And the kid has developed into a pretty good player. He hadn't had a sack in a year and a half at Penn State. All of a sudden, bingo, he's in the NFL as a first-round pick. So, he's a kid. He's got a lot to work with. So I think he's going to be a good player.
One clarification. OurLads.com, by the way, is the website. I've used them forever. You have your Our Lads Top 32 3.0. That's how you rank players 1 through 32, not so much where you see them being drafted, correct? Or vice versa?
Correct, exactly.
Okay.
That's why you've got Cam Stewart in our mock draft going number 1, and he's ranked probably the 11th or 12th player. And we're generally, when we do a mock draft, it's how we would do it if we were drafting. And, obviously a little peer pressure got to us on the Giants. But the Giants do need a quarterback, and having Wilson around to mentor is not a bad thing. So, he is the next best quarterback. I don't think it's necessarily close. So, but again, value-wise, we've got those guys more the mid-first round. And there's some people that don't have that even first-round value on those guys. But that's where we see them.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, John. Great to have you on today. John Cooper, Our Lads Guide to the NFL Draft. Go to ourlads.com. And by the way, they do rank the top 32. And again, it's just how they rank those players and how they see them. You have an NFL free agent tracker. You have the mock draft challenge that they have. You can get involved in that. And then they always have where the rosters are, the depth charts at each team right now, based on what's happened today as they update trades, players being waived or not getting renewed, or any kind of roster release because of bonus money that they get or they don't get. All right, Craig Smoak. And Off the Radar, just around the corner, and this is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza with 5 locations here in the Central Texas area around Waco. And where you are, maybe 1 store or more, depending on the size of the city. Marco's Pizza, the fastest growing pizza brand in America. Fastest growing pizza brand in America. And let's just say, maybe I hit one of you, that you want to do something else with your life. You want to do something and maybe even become somebody that owns a franchise. You can do that. Franchisees are looking for those all of the time. Specials online, marcos.com. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
Welcome into Off the Radar here on 365 Sports, taking a look at various stories from around the world of, you guessed it, sports, and things that we might not otherwise get to, or what we talk about in this segment right here. Although my top story is something we probably should have mentioned at the very top of the show, because it was a big deal, and that was the fact that Arizona basketball picked up a big commit today, as announced on the Pat McAfee show. Koa Pete, one of the best uncommitted players still out there remaining for this upcoming signing class, had his decision to be made, and as I already said, he chose Arizona, doing so over the Houston Cougars, Texas Longhorns, Baylor Bears, Arizona State Sun Devils, amongst many other teams in the country. He said on the show that he chose Arizona head coach Tommy Lloyd and his staff because I know I will be pushed. It's a winning program, and all I want to do is win. So he's expected to come in and obviously contribute right away. He gives them a top 20-ish recruiting class with just 3 players. Dwayne Aristode, who's a top 40 prospect, also a member of the class, and so is Bryce James, son of LeBron James. So those were the 2 previously committed before today, and Koa Pete, who coaches just across the street, really wanted to go and get amongst many others across the country. 6'8", power forward from Perry High School in Arizona, so not going away far from home. One of the top players in the country, is going to be playing in the Big 12 next season. So good pickup there for Zona and their basketball program, which looks to keep going here in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that recruiting class looks really good. You add a Koa Pete guy to it, who's gonna play a lot next year. I mean, he's going to. Caleb Love's gone. He's finally out of eligibility. So they've got to get something out of the guard position and get it fast. They're doing well. Tommy Lloyd, I was talking about this with Garrett earlier today. I really like Tommy Lloyd's vibe and what he's got going on there at Arizona. I think they can pick up some serious momentum. And look, if they pull the upset tonight, who knows what the excitement would be like rolling into next year.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player, and you're right, a bunch of teams. I had that on our rundown. I just never got to it. I had it after we were going to go through the Sweet 16, is the fact that that's pretty good news for them. So I'm glad you brought him up. Arizona, of the 4 schools that came into the Big 12, with Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State, one of the things you saw about Arizona, and they were coming off a really good football season with Fafita and McMillan and all that, their basketball team is a dog. Mm-hmm. And I saw a lot. Like, I hope they get to play Kansas twice a year or whatever. And here they are in the Sweet 16, and it's almost been not under the radar, but Tommy Lloyd coming in from Gonzaga has done a great job.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that the whole appeal of Arizona was always the men's basketball program. That was always what you thought was going to be good and what could be good and what has been good. So they're just doing what you'd hope they would do. Granted, it's better than talking about them not doing what you wanted them to do. But, yeah, that was the expectation. That's why they were as attractive as they were, was in large part due to that basketball program. So, yeah, to go and make the Sweet 16 and possibly get into the Elite 8. I'll run down the schedule again in a second. That's all great, but to go and add some more fuel to next year's lineup when you are going to be turning it over to get a big-time player like that is obviously good for Arizona and that and that basketball program. So big news for them today, and to have the exposure of being, on a show like McAfee and have it done there has got to be a cool experience for Koa Pete and for the basketball program to really slam it home even further. Meanwhile, we had the note, I think it was yesterday, that came out about Gary Danielson, or was that? Yeah, it was yesterday that it came out. He announced that he will be retiring as the lead college football analyst at CBS Sports following next season. They've already plugged his replacement as Charles Davis will replace Danielson starting in 2026. Danielson, longest tenured college football game analyst, when he retires after 36 years in TV broadcasting. But there is some other trickle-down effect to this, as Andrew Marchand reported that in order to, make all of the pieces work now. Charles Davis moving on means that you needed a partner for Ian Eagle on the CBS number 2 team, which is behind Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, considered the number 1 team. So the number 2 team was Ian Eagle and Charles Davis, but with Charles Davis moving on, they need a replacement, and that replacement has been announced. It will be J.J. Watt, the former Houston Texans star. He will take over. And so, he's going to be a part of the mix now, and he's dabbled in it a little bit. He's definitely dabbled in commercials. I still see him. He hadn't played in like 3 years, and yet he's all over commercials all the time, seemingly still. He was a part of the Netflix Christmas broadcast. He'd already been doing stuff the past couple of years with CBS in studio, but now he'll be in the booth, so just musical chairs going on with the Gary Danielson retirement.
Yeah, I think it's a great replacement on both ends. I think that J.J. Watt will be great as an analyst. I think he'll be more fun out there on the road. He's been in the studio for a while, so yeah, I like that. I like Ian Eagle and J.J. Watt together, and I like the Charles Davis replacement to go there with Brad Nessler.
I think that J.J. Watt had a great agent. Mm-hmm. And I think that J.J. Watt's a sharp dude, and he's kind of handled his career really well. They didn't force him on you. He just kind of slowly became a part of a lot of different things, and now having this opportunity in college football, I think, is fantastic.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of media news for you there. Meanwhile, this is why Paul's probably been a little bit down today. Tanaya Latson, the top scorer in Division I men's basketball, has announced she is entering the transfer portal and looking at leaving Florida State. She led all D1 players in scoring, said she'll keep her options open. And I still can't get over. I mean, I know it is what it is at this point, but her representatives at Clutch Sports Group told ESPN on Thursday. It's just freaking wild, her representatives at Clutch Sports Group. But here we are. She averaged over 25 points per game. They got bounced in the second round by LSU. She was making waves and leading the nation in scoring, and so you knew that NIL was probably going to come into play to some extent. She did leave the door open to return, but she has decided to enter the transfer portal. So the full breakdown now, we go to Paul Catalina.
Don't know. No idea.
They had LSU
You
down.
never, ever get to celebrate an FSU Women's National Championship if it happens based on that response just
softball.
now.
They have in softball. Now, but let's talk about this because
I know the coach, Brooke Wyckoff. We were in school together.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But you're the one that brought up that they were leading
and then they lost by
to LSU.
30.
It doesn't matter.
They lost by 30.
So you were paying attention.
I pay attention. I just don't. I have other things that take up time in my brain. I do. And they just.
How will this affect their roster with her now transfer portal?
I mean, it's probably not good. I mean, I don't know.
Generic answer.
I don't know. Like, again, I have nothing but respect. I think I talked about this on the triple option before. No, I talked about it.
Florida State women's basketball?
No, about we talked about it on the show with a guest before. I think the word is traumatized technically, but I did not enjoy covering Baylor women's basketball when Coach Mulkey was here. I didn't enjoy it. It had nothing to do with the athletes. It was just, it wasn't that fun. So as a response, since I don't have to cover it anymore, I don't follow it as much, and my brain is quieter, which I like.
Yeah, I mean, I know you had a certain thing with Mulkey there, so that made you feel a certain type of way.
Yeah.
And didn't necessarily enjoy, I mean, let's just face it, her as much. But I always say, it was way more fun when she was the coach. They were winning a bunch of games, and they were going all over the place and winning some more, and they were playing in the Final Four regularly and all of that. If you don't like the sport, you don't like the sport. But they were anything but, not entertaining if you are into the sport on any level. So, they're doing okay now, but there was definitely a different feel around here when they were doing their thing.
It was unnecessary. You go from covering the women to covering the men to covering the football team. And the women's basketball there was an added level of stress to it that wasn't there for anything else. Now granted, the football team made up for all that in 2016. Yeah. I say made up for it, but added to the stress a lot. But yeah, it was just, there was always this level of stress there that I was like, man, and
Yeah, and the Baylor administrators are the ones that feel that way more than anybody, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So I just, I didn't have to cover it anymore, and like the same way, and our job changed. I just kind of let it go from my brain.
You know what? It was a lengthy schedule. Football was doing well, and men's basketball was making a move. They took us a lot of nice places.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but they also took me to Bowling Green, Ohio.
Oh, that's one trip.
Yeah, but it was like...
again, some people just don't like certain things. That's fine, but they were very entertaining.
They were. They took us. I went to Tampa, Denver, went a lot of different places.
Yeah,
Des Moines, Raleigh. I loved it.
But yeah, you did. You did.
I loved it because I was able to travel and enjoy some new places.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that one season, but then after that, I hated every second of it. We were in Oklahoma City, and the amalgam of every lesbian women basketball fan that was behind me got mad at me for checking scores, and she's like, "You're not white." And I was like, "You know what? You don't know what my life is, So she was.
I guess I don't even know.
What?
You were actually. Yeah, they were berating you because you weren't paying attention to the damn game.
They were getting their ass handed to them. That's why I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I know.
Notre Dame was beating the absolute crap out of them.
I didn't mean to have a therapy session here.
No, but you guys were you there, Craig, when that happened?
Which one?
The one at the Notre Dame game in Oklahoma City?
It was post Brittany Griner.
Yeah.
They were the defending national
I think that's by
champions.
the point where I didn't get to go on any trips anymore.
Well, okay, so Nina Davis might have been their star at that particular time.
They were there was an Elite Eight game that they were in. They just lost the game.
Lost to Muffet McGraw.
Yeah, and they lost the game, and they were getting drilled. I knew they were going to get drilled the whole time, but Notre Dame was better that year, and it was. So I started, following along with other things, including some men's basketball tournament stuff and all that. And this lady behind me, who I will say is if you could draw the stereotypical,
Garrett.
Yes.
Can you mute him?
I mean, yeah. I'm not questioning her life choices. I'm just telling you that she,
Paul, do you want another shovel?
I'm just telling you. She was
so what is this stereotypical lesbian look like?
All right, let's move on.
That's the shovel. But she was the amalgam of all that, and she was mad at me.
Yeah, she did. She barked at you.
Yeah. Yeah, she was mad.
All right, Craig.
All right, your bill will be $475.
Yeah,
so there you go with that. All right, so FSU losing the nation's leading scorer to the transfer portal, potentially. All-time leading scorer in school history as well. So there goes Tanaya Latson. Meanwhile, baseball opening day going on today, and you've already got some games in action, and that includes the Texas Rangers, who are back out there today, and at last glance, they are tied up 2-2 with the Boston Red Sox. Maybe, Paul, you still pay attention to them, right?
Stretch time.
Yeah.
Stretch time in Arlington, 2-2. Not a very exciting game.
It's his segment.
Yeah, so I'm just.
Yep. So they're playing today, and I wasn't going to get too much into the game, but did want to make mention that Alex Bregman was named the third baseman. So I was going to get your thoughts on that, Paul. After the whole to-do about whether he was going to play third or not, he did in fact end up getting the third base slot.
They let Raffy have his little moment of being mad that he was going to move to DH, but he knew. I mean, he knew. And so it's it was a big deal made about nothing because the Red Sox aren't going to sign one of the best defensive basemen in the league and then put him at second and let a guy who's become a bit of a liability over there stay at third when he's not getting better at it. So, yeah, they're better off, and they'll be better off in the long term. And they have an outstanding rookie named Christian Campbell who made the roster at a spring training that won the second base job. So, they're better off long term, and they'll be fine. Devers has had health problems, and hopefully this will, help with that.
So after his little, public, I don't know if outcry is the right word, but his complaints about who is going to be playing third, Devers does in fact get pushed to the side for Alex Bregman at the third base spot. So they're in action right now with the Rangers, as I just mentioned, 2-2, and a bunch of games going on right now. I was at least going to see. Let's see. They was trying to get the number so far for Bregman. He's 0 for 3 with a K. So I was just curious on that, his first big game. Devers 0 for 3 with 3 Ks. So there you go, talking about those two.
He's mentally...
Great day for both those guys.
The top of the lineups, and actually for both teams today, not really lighting it up. So...
are you guys, at least with all these games now underway, you've got, by my count, there's like 10 games going on right now, give or take, but excited about baseball being back. Excited about being able to just like hop in the car and turn on the radio and hear
the golden throat of Eric Nadel.
I was going to say, if he's even doing the games half the time,
he is.
Being able to do that or just go home and I should also say find out wherever the Rangers are playing at this point. Is it the app that we were talking about? Victory Plus app. Yep. So it was Fox Sports for the longest time, and then they were Bally's, and then they were whatever the hell they are, at this point. But I guess go watch Victory Plus and the Rangers.
It's $20 a month. I looked today because I was trying to create some sort of MLB account for myself so we could watch some games
here,
and it was Major League Baseball needs to get this kind of reined in a little bit.
If I bought the Victory Plus so that we could watch it in the studio, I'll do that.
Yeah.
You don't have it yet?
I don't have it yet. I was going to get to, I'm looking into what it costs for MLB TV if I can get a better deal through something else. So we'll see. I'll let you know. We'll be in contact with it because I would like to have baseball on here quite a bit.
After 2022, I still love them. I still want to watch them. But, man, that was like something we waited for a lifetime, and I don't know if I'm mentally ready to go back into it.
Here's what will happen. I thought the same thing in 2004 when the Red Sox won their first World Series. All it took was them getting good again. And
I need to see meat on the bone.
Yeah.
I'm way more mentally ready now. I mean, I don't have to sit there and go, are they ever going to win a World Series again?
Yeah, I know. You're playing with house money, right?
I'd much rather do that than do maybe this is the year that they finally win a World Series, but now they've done it, pressure's off. So, just go play baseball and at least be entertaining, unlike a large part of last year. But I did see this. Tyler O'Neill of the Baltimore Orioles has a pretty cool little record going. He is homered today, his 6th straight opening day, which is a Major League Baseball record. The previous record had been 4 opening days, but Tyler O'Neill has now homered in 6 straight opening days. So that was with the Cardinals from 2020 to 2023. Then he did it again last year, making his debut for the Red Sox, and that set the league mark at that point. And then did it again today. So 6 years of opening day home runs. He's clearly the record holder now by a couple of seasons. The prior to that, the record was a trio of guys who all had done it in 4 opening days. Todd Hundley from 94 to 97, Gary Carter 77 to 80, and Yogi Berra from 55 to 58. But now they're a distant second as he's padded his lead. So I just thought that was pretty damn cool.
Yep.
Of a record that you may not think of that often. So there is that. And then, meanwhile, you did pass along this one note that I guess is of interest. Giants are starting.
So.
I mean, I don't know. Giants are starting a different left fielder for the 19th straight opening day.
That.
It's most consecutive opening days. This is according to Jared Sandler, who does the Rangers games. Most consecutive opening days, starting a different player at any particular position since 1900. So 19 straight opening days, the Giants have had a different left fielder. Just one of those.
What did Barry Bonds play when he was playing?
Left field.
Okay, yeah.
So pretty much since Bonds
he left,
I guess,
Yep. So there you go. Just another kind of unique stat coming out of the opening day notebook there. So there's that. Baseball's underway. Excited about it. We'll see what the season holds in store for our Texas Rangers. But then again, meanwhile tonight, basketball takes back its TV time, as it is going to do here for the next couple of weeks. College basketball tonight, 4 games to have teams advance to the Elite Eight. BYU Alabama kicks things off just after we wrap up things here in about an hour from now at 6 o'clock. Thank you for the graphic, Garrett. Then it will be Maryland and Florida at 6:39. So you'll have those 2 games separated by about a half hour, but it'll have a couple of dueling games going on that'll lead you then into the doubleheader at night. Arizona taking on Duke, top seed, and then in the nightcap just after 9 o'clock Central Time, Arkansas and Texas Tech. Now, Right now, Alabama, the 2 versus the 6 in BYU, they are 4.5-point faves. And I don't say this to go make your bets or anything, but it's interesting to see kind of how it's being viewed. Florida 6.5-point favorites over Maryland, the 1 versus 4 matchup. Duke has the biggest spread of the night, 9.5-point favorites, the 1-seeded Blue Devils against those Arizona Wildcats. And then Texas Tech, the only Big 12 team playing tonight that's favored of the 3. They are 5.5-point favorites against Arkansas out in San Francisco. So, yeah, BYU, Alabama, and Arizona Duke are all in Newark. And then you've got Maryland, Florida, Arkansas Tech out in San Francisco. So we'll get started with the Cougs and the Tide and then wrap things up with the Razorbacks and the Red Raiders with a couple of games in between. But a big night for college basketball, big night for the SEC, big night for the Big 12, big night for the ACC because they need Duke to keep winning.
Yep.
And then you've got Maryland out there in the Big 10, obviously, as well. So, yeah, plenty of storylines tonight.
Thank you, Craig. I'm looking forward to going home and having. Well, there's going to be a couple of games going on juggling at one time. I'm not sure about whether or not with YouTube TV do they have the multi-screen view for baseball like they do in basketball or football. I'm hoping they do. I hope they do. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to.
The problem with it, though, is that baseball's television contracts are so messed up right
they
now.
are. That's okay.
Across the board, it's harder to.
I have the big one downstairs, the larger one, and I'll just have them.
Does
I won't have the
not
sound
currently
on.
include MLB games, is what a quick Google's.
Damn it! All right, that's okay. So the Dodgers, by the way, who won it last year and loaded this year, they're the heaviest favorite to win the World Series since 2002 Yankees. And the Anaheim Angels ended up winning the World Series that year by beating the Giants. Was it the Rally Monkey? Mike Scioscia. And the Angels beat the Giants.
Tim Salmon was on that team.
Yeah. Dusty Baker was the head coach, manager. Now, of course, was with the Astros, and now just a great dude.
Barry Bonds only shot at a World Series. Gone in the year he broke the record, too. So, bummer.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was just a couple of years after that. Yeah, you're right. Now, when we come back, we check in with the team in the ACC. We will look at North Carolina State, the Wolfpack, and their schedule. Mickey Spagnuolo around the corner, Paul's top 5, and much more. This is 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, I was there today. Had to run a couple of different errands, and I dropped by their location, called ahead of time. I said, this is what I want. I want 6 ribeye steaks. I want them at about 1.25 inches thick. I want 3 that are boneless, and I want 3 that are bone-in. And I made the call. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. Drove by there about 11:15, went by, picked them up. They were ready, paid for them, walked out the door, went back to the condo, and then they're already like peeled. They're in those sealed wrappers. I put my own butcher paper around them, get them, put them in the deep freeze, ready to go. Can't wait to have one of those probably on Saturday night. So Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. I looked at the seafood, and they had salmon, and they had some pretty good-looking shrimp, but they weren't the larger shrimp that I was looking to maybe have bacon-wrapped shrimp this weekend, too, for an appetizer or dinner. But they have all you want, tri-tip and briskets and so much more in the butcher shop. Pork, poultry, beef, and also seafood. The bakery it's always loaded. And sometimes to the right of the bakery, it's to the left of you, in the front of the bakery, they'll have other specials, like it could be pork steaks or something else, chicken fried, whatever. They have that available too. Went up to the counter, paid for it, walked out the door. Fresh, cold beer and wine, also there when you're walking out the door if you want that. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store at 425 Lake Erie Drive in Waco.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected. Get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
We will be doing this for quite some time because there's 60 or so Power 5 schools. We've done the Big 12 schedules. Golly, Garrett, are we getting halfway through the ACC?
We're close to halfway.
North Carolina yesterday, we're doing this and just kind of looking at a couple of quirks in the schedule, a couple of nuggets in the schedule. And North Carolina State, the Wolfpack. Craig?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we win every pop quiz on every schedule in America, but nobody's taking a deeper dive on every schedule in America and spending as much time as we are on it. So
you're matching the colors of their school, too, today.
Yeah, I definitely planned that out beforehand. But, no, I mean, we've been going through these pretty much every single day, and it is a nice way to just kind of get more of a grasp on maybe what certain teams are facing, although there's plenty of question marks, and this is not an exact science by any means. But this NC State schedule's definitely got a unique part to it that is not totally unheard of, but it is very unique, so I'll get to that in a moment. But NC State had an interesting year a year ago, a program that's pretty solid overall. I think just year to year, it's a program that you feel like is competitive and definitely has its years where it's better than others. Last year was in the middle. It went 6-6, ended up 6-6 in the regular season, ended up losing and finishing 6-7 overall as they lost to East Carolina in the Go Bowling Military Bowl. So that was how things wrapped up for them last year. A 26-21 loss to ECU, which, had to sting a little bit, that Carolina battle. So that was probably not the way you wanted to go out, but it's a fresh year, and here is their fresh schedule for 2025. Look at that, ECU. Rematch from the bowl game just a few months ago. So right there, right out of the gates, you have kind of a unique part to this schedule for NC State. And not just ECU, who was the team they just lost to in the bowl game to finish 6-7, and you have the Carolinas flavor there. But it's also a Thursday night game. It's also going to be the first of 2 Thursday night games in the first 3 weeks for NC State. So East Carolina right out of the gates on a Thursday night, rematch of last year's bowl game. Now here, if that wasn't unique enough just for the very first week, how about Virginia in week 2, Saturday, September the 6th? Does that stick out to y'all in any way at all?
Yeah. It's a conference game.
No, it's not. It's not a conference game.
They're like that.
I was sitting there searching for – I was like, where is their other non-conference opponent? Because as we all know, the ACC only plays 8 conference games, which is –
gutless.
You know, like the SEC, you can at least go like, I kind of see your point and I kind of get it. And if anybody had the ability to like BS their way into that excuse, then like it would be you guys. The ACC doesn't really have that. Like they don't honestly have that. I know there's reasons though. They don't want to have 7-year gaps between playing in College Station, once every blue moon or whatever like the SEC schedule has. But that is a non-conference game, guys. Virginia, they're in week number 2.
Yeah,
So,
and that's
it's not like Arizona and Kansas State where
Utah,
they scheduled
Baylor
it
one
before
year, right?
and then the conferences melted together. This was them not having to do that necessarily. This was just a way to play each other because otherwise they weren't going to play each other for forever and also fill one of your non-con spots. So, this isn't a result of realignment so much based on everything that I read as it was just the route that they took to play each other and to fill a spot. So that is a non-conference game against Virginia on September the 6th. Then you will open up ACC play as you have the stunted non-conference schedules, but you have Wake Forest there on Thursday, September the 11th. So 2 Thursday games in the first 3 weeks, and then you will have on Saturday, September the 20th, another ACC game there against Duke. Saturday, September the 27th, you get the Virginia Tech Hokies, and there is your first 5 games in your first month of the schedule, starting in late August and going through the month of September. ECU on a Thursday at home, Virginia in a non-con at home, Wake Forest on the road on a Thursday, Duke on the road, and then Virginia Tech at home. So where is NC State sitting at this point, or where in your mind do you kind of see them at this point?
Well, their defense was really bad last year, and that's not normally Dave Doran's calling card. They've got solid defenses. Their offenses have been less than prolific. I thought last year was going to match up well for them because I was a big fan of Grayson McCall, what he did at Coastal Carolina. I thought that would be an upgrade. He was injured and medically retired, before anything really happened, and their defense was terrible. This is one of the tougher. Like if you told me that they're not going to get to a bowl game this year, I would believe you. They got to go to Duke. They got to go to Notre Dame. They got to go to Pitt, Georgia.
I'll get to that, Paul.
This is tough. This is the part of the schedule where they have to make hay with the sunshines. But, to have, 6 or 7 games right out the bat, I think it's going to be tough for them.
Yeah, so there's the first run through the schedule there. And then after Virginia Tech, you will open up things on Saturday, October the 4th, opening that month up with another non-conference game. It'll be the Campbell Camels on Saturday, October the 4th. So I don't like this. I don't like this random-ass non-con in the week 6, and then there's another one in week 10 or whatever it is. I know that's not exactly, but it's just kind of weird. I just feel like non-con at the beginning, then you play your conference schedule. And I get that, in the SEC as well, there's that week whatever game where they play their equivalent of Campbell. But
that's usually in late October, November, yeah.
But, I don't know. It's just weird because that Virginia game being non-con kind of throws you off. But then, there's Campbell after you've already played 3 ACC games. So there they are on October the 4th. Then Saturday, October the 11th, you go to South Bend to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and then you get a break in the schedule, your first of 2 breaks in the schedule. Now, because of them playing some weekday games, they do have 8 days between some games. So that'll work out maybe in their favor. But at this point, they still had not had a bye week until just now. Notre Dame, October the 11th. That following week, you get the first one. So that's where they will be sitting kind of at their halfway point.
When I first saw a beautiful schedule, by the way, and Garrett, you've done a great job of getting those out in a graphic, but I was first of all looking, are they going to the West Coast?
You don't think that he designed all these graphics, do you?
No, I know he did.
I was just making sure.
But
if he is, he needs to leave here and go be a graphic designer somewhere.
That's one of the nicest ones because I love red. I just absolutely, any shades of red. But as I saw Campbell midway, like you said, I said, Virginia, and I didn't realize non-conference. It's a weird schedule. But I don't see them having to do anything else other than right there on the East Coast almost every single week. Just like we said yesterday with North Carolina, which is good.
Indiana's the furthest away they go from their home state, really.
Hey, people want geography to matter, right? Well, they're not going anywhere. They're staying in their region, basically. Yep. So you'll have the Notre Dame game and then a break after that. You come back. You've got Pittsburgh on the road on October the 25th, Georgia Tech at home on November the 1st, and then your next and last bye week. So just a couple games there between Notre Dame and then what will be their matchup when they return. These final 3-week slate after you get the break following Georgia Tech. It's 3 games to close out the season, and you'll have 2 weeks to prepare for the Miami Hurricanes down in South Beach on Saturday, November the 15th. Then another weeknight game, their third, but they're only one on Friday night because they'll play those 2 Thursdays right there at the beginning of the season. But Friday, November the 21st versus Florida State, and then they'll have 8 days to get ready for Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels on Saturday, November the 29th. So back-to-back home games against FSU and North Carolina to close things on out, and I will get to a note about the ACC in particular in a second here, especially in light of all these weeknight games that I'm talking about. But there you go. Road trips to Wake Forest, to Duke, to Notre Dame, to Pitt, and to Miami. You've got FSU and North Carolina, Georgia Tech, et cetera, at home. Pitt's on the road, excuse me. Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech is who I was thinking of there at home. So, you miss out on a Louisville, for example, but you got a lot of the big guns on this schedule. You got two Thursdays, a Friday night. You've got weird non-con in the middle, a weird non-con against a conference opponent. It's a unique schedule, I would say, for Dave Doran and the Wolfpack.
Paxton thinks they're going to lose 8 games.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Let's see here. Yeah, Paxton said 4-8. Here's a note from Kim Coulter. About the stadium. Where was the note about? He said it's a really, really cool stadium that they have at NC State. I don't know if I've paid attention to when they're playing a game at home. It is weird. It's kind of like herky-jerky. Don't know. I don't know how to kind of gobble that one up.
I think herky-jerky is a good way to put it, as far as they've got to run through the schedule early on and play a bunch of games in a row before the bye, which a lot of their conference foes don't have to do. But I think the biggest thing is that this schedule is loaded. I mean, Duke, Notre Dame, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Miami, and Florida State not having to play. It looks like Clemson.
You don't play Clemson. You don't play SMU. You don't play Syracuse. You don't play Louisville. They get a lot of good teams. They also miss some as well.
So, look, had they gotten any of those other teams, that would have been just unfair to them. That would have been an absolute bear of a schedule. Now, the benefit to them is historically they play FSU well at Carter Finley. Historically they play Georgia Tech well at Carter Finley. Going to Notre Dame is going to be really tough. Going to Duke's going to be really tough. So they've got a really, really tough go of this all year long. So, if you told me they're 4-8, I'll believe you. And Dave Doran might be looking for a job, even though he's done a pretty good job there until last year. I just think that this is going to be really, really tough. And
how come and you say that, but the 4 probably best teams in the ACC, they're not playing them.
Yeah, but they're also playing, the 4 second best, and they're not up there.
I mean, Miami's in that best group. Notre Dame, if you want to include them, is in that best group. Florida State on a good year is definitely in that best group. Georgia Tech's going to be pretty good on paper.
Salty. Yeah.
You're going to Pitt, so you're going to Duke. You could see where there's a slippery slope for them, where it could get off track pretty easily.
Yeah, it could get off track really easily, and Dave Doran could be out there. Not to mention, they had a player that is now at Texas A&M named Casey Concepcion that is gone, and he was a big part of them, having any kind of offense last year. So he's gone. He's a unique player. They've got obviously other transfers in there, but I'm just not. I'm curious about how their roster shakes out.
Yeah, it's Kevin Concepcion.
I guess they go by KC.
You go by KC, okay.
Say Dave Concepcion, the shortstop.
Yeah,
of the Red.
Well, he probably does. I mean, this was an initial, so he probably does go by KC. But I just knew him as Kevin Concepcion. Yeah. But so they don't play SMU, they don't play Clemson, they don't play Syracuse, they don't play BC. They also don't play Stanford or Cal in any form or fashion. So you don't have to worry about that cross country road trip for either side. But yeah, 6-7 last year. Dave Doran back. And, in terms of the personnel and predictions and all that, that's not really what this is for. That's for later on in the summertime as we draw closer to the season. So there's just what this whole exercise is, which is looking at the schedule on paper and rolling along with it. And NC State certainly has some unique parts of its schedule and some things that you probably like, hey, no Clemson, no SMU, no Syracuse. And then some parts where you don't like, which is the weeknight games and the other teams that you do play. I did want to add, I know we got Mickey, but I talked about those Thursday and Friday night games for the ACC. Did y'all see the ACC, putting out a little promo on owning Fridays this fall?
No.
Yeah, it's like on the front page of their website. They announced some of the Friday games they're going to have, and they said the ACC is going to own Friday night football this fall, and it was a list of all the games they have, and they have more games on Friday nights than any other power conference. And I don't know if that holds for every conference in America. It actually might, but I know it's certainly the most for any power conference. So they were saying that like it's a good thing. As you can imagine, some of the comments are saying that like, well, that's what you have to do when you're little brother or whatever. But they're leaning into it, and they're embracing the fact that they are the most Friday friendly, riddled conference in college football.
Find places where you can be seen, right?
Yeah, that's what they have
How
to
would
do.
you, Paul, in 15 seconds, or Craig, how would you overall describe, not now, but North Carolina State football?
I mean, they're okay.
So, Craig?
I'd say, average to above average program. Historically, has had some great, moments, players, games like a lot of other programs have. Yeah, I mean they're right there in the general conversation, but they're obviously nowhere near a blue blood or anything like that, like most other teams.
I don't know why. I just like to every once in a while check. They've been playing football since the early 1900s. How many years have they had 10 wins or more?
I want to say 5.
1.
Yeah.
Jeez.
2002. I know. I'm not trying to take a shot at him.
Chuck
They were
Amato.
11-2.
Wow, we were being so nice, and now here you are.
No, his third year, they went 11-2. Actually, 11-3. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 11-3. And I just like, man, I thought they may have had at least a couple more of those. It's hard to win that many games. Some teams just chalk it up year after year. But that just kind of struck me because I thought that maybe they have a lot of 9-win seasons, but just one in 100 years or so. I didn't realize that. Retired, Craig, that it? NC State. Who's next?
I have
Pitt, probably.
Pitt. Yeah, it's got to be Pitt.
Yeah,
there's no Oregon's not in it. So, retired stockbroker just gave a super chat. Thank you, $14.60, $3.65 for every Big 12 win in the Sweet 16.
Oh,
very
there you
nice.
go. Thank you very
Very
much.
confident. We love
Hope
that.
you're right.
I hope that's true. That would be absolutely awesome. Be a hell of a show tomorrow to discuss that if that's possible. Well, 3. We'll know if there's 3 at least by the end of the night. All right, when we come back, I actually have not heard back from Mickey. I just sent him a text. Garrett, I don't know if he's in the portal or not.
Not yet.
We'll see if we can get Mickey Spagnola. A few other stories that we'll get to. Please, if you haven't, hit the like and subscribe button. We appreciate that. That helps us, and it also helps you. And this is 365 Sports.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 20 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Have not heard back from Mickey. That might be as much my fault. But he did ask us for the audio we had with Shiloh when we were at the Pro Days. Shiloh dropped by. Appreciate Faith Lynch made that happen. Also, Matt Enser with the Big 12. And he used some of the quotes from our interview with Shiloh Sanders. So we'll see if Mickey's available. He might. We just see what happens, Garrett. All right, Michigan. Of course, during the national championship run, and my goodness, they were really good. And then you had Connor Stallions, and that story that would never end finally has calmed down a little bit until I brought it up. But then Dan Wetzel, who's a really good guest for us, was with Yahoo Sports for a long, long time. Moved over to ESPN in the last month. He is well known for, one, covering sports, but also for investigative reporting at Yahoo Sports when he was there from day one with them. And now this story. Prosecutors allege that Coach Matt Weiss hacked accounts of over 3,000 students targeting female athletes, including at least 5 from a small Division II school in California. How many schools will be impacted? This is the most prolific I've seen. A quote in the article by Dan Wetzel. Where did this come from?
So, if you remember a couple years ago, he was the FBI raided Michigan's offices because of
Connor Stallions.
No, it was because of this. It was alleged. It was computer access crimes. Was all that the detail that we were given, and it was Matt Weiss's computer that they were after, in particular. And then he was summarily dismissed after that because of the investigation. But we didn't know anything about really what had happened and what computer he was accessing. And then immediately right after that, Connor Stallions happened. So I think a lot of people jump to, I wonder if this is Michigan trying to get an edge on every other thing they can, and what has this guy done? And this goes back to his time with the Ravens, too, that he'd been doing this for a while. He's apparently a pretty prolific hacker and was able to get access to medical data and got into people's social media and phones and was downloading pictures from their phones, female athletes. So him hacking into other teams is what I wish this was, as opposed to a very, very, very depraved creeper that he is, going in and invading people's privacy like this. This is such a weird story.
All right, so Garrett does graphics. We'll send him a tweet, or he'll send him, we're always kind of looking for stories. And then he sent the graphic out to an email. He always shows us what this looks like. What was the title of this graphic?
I think I just put Michigan Creep.
That's what he – no, you said – I think you said Michigan Creeper.
Yeah, Creeper.
I mean, because that's what he was doing here. And, I would think that right now and Michigan's going to get sued. Like, Michigan's going to get sued. Like, anybody who's, information he hacked from is going to get sued. Any of those companies in that because clearly their security wasn't up to snuff. And I'm betting they wish it was just, man, I'm really trying to get into Ohio State's playbook. Like that would be better than this.
Yeah.
This is just weird and awful.
Some of the hacking, Westmont College, a 1,200 student liberal arts school tucked in the the foothills of Santa Barbara, California.
It's idyllic.
Idyllic. That's good. I don't think I've ever said that word.
Yeah, I mean, you have now.
What does that mean?
Picturesque.
Okay. All right. Why can't they just say picturesque? Okay.
Because idyllic is a cool word.
It's because they wanted me to look like an idiot, which I went JUCO. It's 15 sports teams compete in Division II in the NCAA. Weird.
Yeah. And so here's the other question is, I didn't even know about that. Right? Like, why would you?
Well, that's the question is, why is he just randomly going after that school? But, the behavior is bizarre. It's creepy. The dude needs to be locked under the jail. The amount of just weirdness coming from Michigan, I don't know if there's a central, tie-in you can make. I don't think that there is. I think it's just a weird set of circumstances. But, yeah, I mean, you had the lawsuit. It's mentioned in the article, $400+ million, case that went against the former Michigan team doctor with the football players.
Yep.
You had the Connor Stallions thing. You've got this where this guy's just hacking computers at random colleges, or maybe not random, we don't know, and then trying to find photos and then using them as revenge porn potentially. It's just bizarre. It's a lot of really bizarre behavior, a lot of just sleazy, underhanded behavior just emanating from there with these stories over the last couple of years. And I don't, I'm not going to be like an Ohio State fan, oh, look at that. I'm not saying that. It's weird that so many weird things have happened to that one school in the last handful of years. And they're not oh, well, that's happened. No, we've never seen the story like the Connor Stallion story, at least on that level. We've never seen a story like this, to my knowledge. Then you throw in the team doctor thing. I guess there's probably examples where you can.
That goes back to Schembechler.
Yeah, I mean, that's way, way into their history. So I'm sure you can draw examples over the decades of how there's something similar there. But, I mean, you just add it all together, and it's just this weird combination of events that have occurred there. It's all very strange. And this is particularly strange. And this dude's just the biggest perv. I mean, he's just a big old perv. I mean, I don't know what the end game was other than seeing, I guess, college girls nude in their hacking their iCloud accounts. I don't know. But it's very bizarre.
Yeah.
So he initially entered into he's at the Rangers game. So we'll have him maybe tomorrow. His initial entry point, according to the indictment, was gaining heightened access to data via the Keffer Development Services, a third-party contractor that keeps the medical information for some 150,000 athletes at approximately 100 schools, including Westmont. And that is how it all started. And then he started to get more and more access. And here's one thing I don't know where all this comes from, but the negligence has compromised the confidentiality of personal, medical, intimate information, leading to profound feelings of betrayal, trauma, fear among female student athletes and others affected. Lawyer Parker Steiner of Chicago's Steiner, Gould, Greico, and Hensley said. In 2022, Steiner won a $490 million settlement with Michigan.
That's what I just brought up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. How do you pay that? Michigan's been hammered over and over and over again.
That comes out of the endowment.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's
sorry, Craig.
Yeah. So no,
I was reading it and I wasn't paying attention.
But yeah, it's so that company's going to get sued. And look, I would say that Michigan colleges are like this too. The way that you've always done something, kind of this is the way we do things at Michigan. This is the way we do things at X university. So they need to really look at how they vet employees, top to bottom.
Well, maybe.
I mean, of course, like, there's no way you maybe would know that, like, this guy isn't to this level of creepiness. But, you know, maybe vet some things a little bit better.
These aren't Michigan men the way that I was to know them growing up and the way it was defined. Certainly not a lot of non-Michigan man behavior going on within the halls of Michigan. And so, yeah, I don't know. Just weird guy, this particular person we're talking about here. And I think Connor Stallions was weird in his own way, but I'd take him 10 times out of 10 over this. Go hack a playbook. That's we can get over that. Like, you're hacking like random colleges and like trying to find pictures of girls. That's beyond creepy. So yeah, we'll see where this goes. But yeah, I don't think they're worried about the money so much as they'll be able to swing that. I don't know. Is there a school with more lawyers than Michigan that exists? Yeah, I don't know. If there is, there's very few of them. So, yeah, it's just weird. It's what it is.
I don't know who is the school that produces the most lawyers. I don't.
Well, it's a gigantic university with a law school and all that. So they're going to have, people at the ready. But this is one of those things where they will not be able to, on their end, not be able to settle this fast enough. Like, that's what they're telling their lawyers. Like, please, please, please.
Well, good luck with that, because there's already multiple lawsuits, and there's going to be probably hundreds more based on what he was doing. So
this is a class action.
Yeah,
this is going to be a class action.
Oh yeah, golly. This is Google. I don't know. It could be different types of the most produces most lawyers. Harvard, Yale, Berkeley, and those schools show up quite a bit. All right, thank you very much. That's gross. That story. And when I first saw it, I thought for some reason, without reading it initially, was this a tied into Connor Stallions? But it has nothing to do.
Well, it's just like for Michigan, it seems like, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Like whatever they were doing on this other side. Well, yeah, it's not even in the same ballpark. This is just so creepy and weird.
All right, when we come back, Paul, you want to give us an update in baseball?
I do.
Red Sox beat the Rangers 5-2. 3-run homer in the top of the ninth by Abreu, who homered earlier in the game. Yep. Damn it!
While you're Abreu, love him.
Aroldis Chapman got the win, by the way.
Yeah,
for Boston.
That's why, like when you said the Red Sox are going to be good, the fact that he is at the back of their bullpen makes me think that that's not true, because apparently they only know how hard he throws the ball, but not where.
Yeah, the Rangers had their fill of him a couple years ago.
Yeah, he was on the World Series team, but he almost
wasn't on a World Series team. Right. He was almost on the runner-up because of one reason.
Yeah,
him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm one of the things about the Rangers, to close it out and go to the top five, is they don't have a closer. And I just think I know you could still win without one, but you got to find one. And, again, they don't have one, so that might be by committee.
A lot of teams don't.
Yeah, I know.
What they do is you go into the season when you don't have a guy, because closers kind of come up and, like, they just appear out of nowhere a lot of the time. Like, for every Trevor Hoffman, there's 5 other guys that just had a couple of great years, right, as a closer. And you just hope you find the guy who gets locked in that year.
The closer, Luke Jackson's the one that gave up the home run. He's pitched for Atlanta, San Francisco, Atlanta. And the last year was with the Braves.
Okay.
Hold on. I don't even know if he had any saves. 17 saves in his career. That's not a closer. When we come back, Paul Catalina at his top 5.
You spent hours selecting your patio sofa. Choosing that grill would have taken weeks. Probably your car needed way more time. For sure, you would have spent months mulling over that pool of yours. Protecting your prized possessions needs no time, though. Just visit coversandall.com, create a custom size per your requirements, pick a fabric, and personalize your cover. And leave the rest to us. Premium protection for all that you love.
You might ask yourself what functional mushrooms are good for. Whether it's lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tail, shiitake, reishi, they all serve a purpose.
You have ones for neurological health, ones for sleeping and gut health and all these different areas. They pack a powerful punch.
Functional mushrooms are, of the millions of mushrooms and fungi out there, the ones that we can actually ingest and benefit from as humans.
Like all adaptogens, they kind of adapt to what you need at the time that you need them.
We don't even really know that we're suffering. We just don't quite feel right. That's where these adaptogens come in and really start to close the gap and really start getting us closer to how we want to feel.
Functional mushrooms have definitely re-energized me and helped me face each day with a new vigor for life.
Learn ways that functional mushrooms can help you. Go to getumble.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Ticket Club. Forget the fees, just big savings. Click the link in the description to find out more.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Ticket Club. Today, we're going through the glue guys in the Sweet 16. Love a good glue guy. Someone who maybe not the star of stars, might be the second star in a team. You know, might be the third or fourth best player on the team when it comes to the stat sheet, but does key things to keep the team moving it together. Let's go to number 5. Micah Hanlocken from Florida. I have a hard time saying his name. Not just because it's hard, but because he's a Gator. I say that in jest, but this was a player who last year, when he got hurt, the wheels kind of came off Florida's run. They had started to pick up steam towards the end of the season, but they didn't have anything inside, and it really made their backside defense very vulnerable, and it was clear when they lost last year that they missed him a lot. Now, this is not a guy who fills up the stat sheet, and he didn't even have to come back. This season, he could have gotten a medical redshirt, but came back towards the middle of the year and played really, really well for them. He is kind of an energy engine. He's a rebounder, a shot blocker, all the things that you need a center to be, and can get the ball back out to Walter Clayton in that great offense to run things through. The offense doesn't run through him, and it shouldn't, but he does every single thing he's asked and helps the Florida team run. Number 4, Derek Queen at Maryland. Now, this guy is probably their best player when it comes to scorer, but he's a glue guy not just because of that. He's a glue guy because of the way he gets it done. He's got to get dirty sometimes. He has to, nearly travel to make a game winner. I'm going to live on that forever. But he does all the things, but his attitude is contagious, and the team has a lot of fun around him. And look, there's controversy with their coaching staff. Their coach and the athletic department are not getting along. The coach wants more money and more things for NIL, and he's been very vocal about how he feels he's not getting it, in spite of the fact that this is a team that's in the Sweet 16 and a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament in the Big Ten. He feels he should be getting more. I don't know whether that's true or not. That's up to the Terps and their administration. So when you have some outside noise in the program, what can keep it light? A guy with the attitude of Derek Queen. Keeps everything good, moving, happy, and light. You saw the press conference last week. He's just open and honest and funny. Really love this player, and he's the glue guy for the Terps. Number 3, Elijah Hawkins at Texas Tech. The best position to have a glue guy at, in my opinion, is at point guard, and that's what he is. Look, he's good for 8-9 points a game. He also hustles and gets rebounds. He distributes so well, runs the floor, runs that offense that has 3 or 4 guys who are really good, and always make sure that the star, JT Toppin, is in a good position to succeed. That is what a glue guy does, and he's perfect for Grant McCaslin and the Red Raiders. Number 2, Toby Awaka from Arizona. A Tennessee transfer. This guy really polishes the glass, cleans up the boards a lot, powerful, good on defense, gets things done for his team, and cleans it up and gets those like putbacks. I really enjoy watching Toby Awaka play. He's a tough guy. 11 rebounds a game that he gets for his team. And number 1, Juwan Roberts at Houston. Look, Emmanuel Sharp and L.J. Cryer are the scorers on this team. L.J. Cryer, the most consistent one. Emmanuel Sharp is the guy who can get hot from 3 and turn a game around when they struggle as little as they do. But Juwan Roberts is the guy who makes everything more difficult because, you know, if they're missing your 3s or not really getting the scoring going, he's going to get buckets down low. Plus, with that left hand that he has, he's really lethal because he can go to either side of the basket no matter what's going on. He's got that great step towards the hoop. He plays unbelievable defense, and he's a great rebounder. And his energy is infectious, and he is the Kelvin Sampson-iest player in all of Kelvin Sampson's career, maybe. He just completely fits the mold of what you want from a Kelvin Sampson player. And for that reason, I have picked them into the final game. I do have them losing to Florida, but I think this is a team that is championship caliber, and not just because of L.J. Cryer and the scoring, but because of the way that Juwan Roberts is just the heart and soul of this team, just the heartbeat of bum, 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 bum. That is him all the way. Love Juwan Roberts at Houston. He is my number 1 glue guy. That's going to do it for the top 5, and we're wrapping up the show right now.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. Garrett Ross, thank you. Andrew Valade, thank you. We'll have 365 Sports tonight at 10:30 tonight on the CW, presented, of course, by GXG Elite. We appreciate everybody there. Baylor's NIL Collective now and into the future. Tomorrow, back at it, we'll know how many of the 3 Big 12 teams who are playing. In fact, BYU about to tip off will be into the weekend. And, of course, Houston's playing tomorrow night. Opening day of baseball, Sweet 16 and more tomorrow. For Craig, Paul, I'm David Smoak. Have a great night on 365 Sports.